Chapter 453, They Still Don't Know About the Great Demons and Its Great Power. In the Heavenly Note sect, two people appeared in the main hall of Jianghao's residence. After 2.5 months they had finally returned. Jianghao looked around and noticed that nothing had changed. No one had entered the courtyard during their absence. "Don't you feel anything when holding my hand for so long?" Hong Yuye asked. Only then did Jianghao realize that he was holding her hand and let her go. "It's because the spatial distance we crossed was too vast and sometimes causes a sensory imbalance in the body." In truth, he hadn't noticed anything. Hong Yuye let out a laugh. She walked into the courtyard. The heavenly fragrance Dao flower filled the air with a faint scent. The leaves swayed gently. The immortal peach tree was also bearing fruits. They would be ripe soon. Hong Yuye began to disappear. "If you want to kill someone, you can try crossing great distances with others." Her voice echoed. Then she disappeared. Jiang Hao understood that he needed to be cautious when crossing long distances in the future. At the very least, he should test his abilities. Short distances might not pose a problem, but traveling across prefectures was a different matter. "My ring. Where is it?" The things he had lost before were gone for good, but the golden rings were not disposable. Misplacing one would mean a significant loss. Fortunately, he still had 3 that could be used. During their travels, the rings had played a crucial role. Having fewer than 3 of them would severely limit their capabilities. Jiang Hao took a deep breath. He wondered if it was just his imagination, but he felt that the spiritual energy in the surroundings had become even denser. It might be due to Bai Yi, but he would need to observe further. Half a month later, in early August, the group from the Heavenly Note sect in Star Moon City was also planning to return. They had been here for quite some time, and they had already reaped all the rewards they could. Staying longer would be meaningless. It was better to return as soon as possible and use their gains. Lu Xingchen led a group of people to scout the route they would take back. The Spirit Beast and Shaoli went shopping. Chu Chuan, on the other hand, arrived at the Bright Moon sect. He nervously approached a small attic. "This is where junior sister Chu Jie lives," Fang Jin said. "Thank you, senior," Chu Chuan said respectfully. This senior's strength was so great that he had no choice but to address him as senior. "Don't be so formal. You can call me senior brother or fellow Taoist. Are you really not going to stay in the Bright Moon sect?" Fang Jin asked. "No." Chu Chuan shook his head and said, "I should create my own path instead of living under someone's shadow. Lord Beast told me that only by forging my own path can I make my own future." He didn't say the rest of it. He didn't tell him the part about how the beast had said that the future great demon was here to allow them to bask in its glory. "All right, go in then. Junior sister Chu can't stray too far from here for a while, and the sect master doesn't allow her to meet with others because she's still in the Foundation establishment realm. There won't be any problems after a few months," Fang Jin said. Chu Chuan nodded and then walked inside. As soon as he entered, the beauty of the place captivated him. He couldn't help but think of his old run-down house. He lowered his head to look at the ground beneath his feet. It felt like his feet would leave stains if he walked here. After all, in the Heavenly Note sect, he would often collapse from exhaustion after practicing his cultivation. He hadn't paid much attention to keeping neat. Although he had taken a bath, he still felt disheveled. This place was like a fairyland and seemed out of place for him. At that moment, Chu Jie walked out. She was dressed in a simple blue gown. Their eyes met. Chu Jie opened her mouth but couldn't call out his name. "Are you in the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm already?" Chu Chuan was the first to speak. "Yes, Master said that I would advance rapidly in the future. If I'm not careful, I might get lost in the process of advancing and forget other important things," Chu Jie said. "My senior brother mentioned that too. He said that if your state of mind can't keep up with your cultivation realm, disasters may occur," Chu Chuan said. Chu Jie nodded in agreement. "I'm going back," Chu Chuan said. Chu Jie lowered her head. She looked conflicted. After a long moment of silence, she finally said, "Will you come to the Bright Moon sect in the future?" "Of course." Chu Chuan nodded. If he wanted to surpass everyone, he would inevitably need the people of the Bright Moon sect. He would definitely come back here in the future. "When are you going back?" Chu Jie asked. "Probably tonight. They're buying some things for the journey," Chu Chuan said. Shaoli had won a lot of spirit stones and she was buying food everywhere. Even the disciples of the Bright Moon sect's canteen felt like they were facing a disaster whenever Shaoli went to eat there. It wasn't because the canteen couldn't afford it, but she made them stressed and made them hurry with the food. The Cliff Master's reputation had suffered quite a bit. "Oh, this is for you." Chu Jie took out a small storage treasure and handed it to Chu Chuan. Chu Chuan received the storage treasure in confusion. "What is this?" He looked at the contents of the storage treasure. His hands trembled when he saw what was inside. "This?" Chu Chuan hurriedly placed the storage treasure back in Chu Jie's hand. "I can't accept this." "Why not?" Chu Jie asked in confusion. She had saved up half of her pocket money for this. "It's too much," Chu Chuan said. With so much money, he was worried that he would lose his life before he reached his sect. "It's just a little over 320,000, Chu Jie muttered. "What?" Chu Chuan didn't hear her clearly. "Nothing. If I reduce it by a bit, would that be okay?" she asked. "How about 500 or 600? Chu Chuan suggested. That amount was something he could bear. Anything more would be risky. "No." Chu Jie refused. Chu Chuan was speechless. "I didn't mean that. Chu Jie didn't know how to explain herself. "I understand." Chu Chuan smiled even though he didn't understand at all. They talked for a while, but Chu Chuan noticed that it was getting late. He then prepared to leave. He also wanted to explore the attic and see what this fairyland was like. However, Chu Jie seemed distracted. She was lost in thought, so Chu Chuan didn't want to interrupt her. Besides, he felt stressed staying here. He felt like he would dirty the floor. So, he decided it was better not to go up and explore. Chu Jie accompanied Chu Chuan to the door. "Well, I should head back now." Chu Chuan bid her goodbye. When he turned around to leave, Chu Jie called out, "Wait." Chu Chuan turned back to her. "Last time Chu Jie couldn't bring herself to mention the hairpin. "Last time?" Chu Chuan was puzzled. He then felt a bit anxious. Had she discovered him using the beast's name to make up for the lacking spirit stones? He felt embarrassed. He couldn't tell her that he couldn't afford the hairpin without the spirit beast's help. When he saw that Chu Jie was still wearing the hairpin, he asked, "You wore it?" Chu Jie touched the hairpin and nodded. "I like it a lot." "That's great." Chu Chuan breathed a sigh of relief and then smiled. "Well, I'll be heading back now." And so, Chu Jie watched as Chu Chuan left. Chapter 454, The Great Changes. In the Heavenly Note sect, Jiang Hao looked at the peach tree in his courtyard. The peaches on the trees were ripening. It wouldn't be long before they could be picked and eaten. Turning his gaze away, Jiang Hao looked at a panel. Jiang Hao couldn't help but feel a bit nostalgic. He was almost 31 now. He recalled when he was 20. Unknowingly, 10 years had passed. Meeting Hong Yuya was 11 years ago. The speed of growth over these 11 years far exceeded his expectations. Whether it was changes in the cultivation realm or mental state, everything had happened quite rapidly. Even his understanding of the world of cultivation had progressed quickly, thanks to his access to the stone tablet. Thinking back, he realized that he had experienced so much in such a short time. Before the age of 19, everything had been relatively smooth and he rarely encountered difficulties. Now, with more people and more things to deal with, he couldn't find the same peace of mind as before. I wonder how profitable mining would be now. With his improved cultivation, mining might no longer be as lucrative as it used to be, and it might be more profitable to focus on growing the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Shaking his head, he shifted his attention to the spiritual energy in the courtyard. After observing for half a month, he noticed that not only had the spiritual energy increased in his surroundings, but it had also risen throughout the entire Heavenly Note sect. It should be the same in the surrounding areas. No one knew why. It had suddenly increased. During this time, Jiang Hao took out the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl and sealed it. He noticed that the number of days might increase. Since returning, he had observed that the progress in the outer sect's herb medicine garden had suddenly increased. It seemed that a small amount of lifeblood had appeared suddenly, and combined with the increase in spiritual energy, the progress was rapid. All signs pointed to one thing. The world was changing for the better, and the only thing that could be related to this was the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment. To learn more, he sent Ching Cho out to gather more information. Now that the 3-month deadline had arrived, he needed to make a trip to the law enforcement hall. It was still the same senior sister from before. This senior sister seemed idle. She was always present at the reception. "Junior brother Jiang, are you here to submit a task? Is it completed?" asked the senior sister with a smile. "Junior brother Jiang, are you here to submit a task? Is it completed?" asked the senior sister with a smile. Jiang Hao lowered his head. No. The senior sister smiled. It's okay. Do you want to split the repayment into 3 months? She asked. After hesitating for a while, Jiang Hao decided to repay in 3 months. 3 months? Okay. Would you like to repay 500 now or 1,000? Junior brother, if you have difficulties, we won't rush you. How about 500? If it's not convenient, you can repay within 2 years, which will be easier for you, said the senior sister. Jiang Hao was speechless. In the end, he handed over 1,000 spirit stones. There would be another 1,500 to pay in the future. When he left, the senior sister happily told him to come back next time. Jiang Hao gave a hasty response. He never wanted to come here if he could help it. With the amount of spirit stones he had paid to the law enforcement hall till now, it was enough to buy red azure tea. He now had 26,500 spirit stones left. Originally, he had 35,000, but he spent 3,000 to buy a heavenly rejuvenation pill. He had spent another 4,500 on a collar, and 1,000 to repay his debt to the law enforcement hall. He still owed them 1,500. If necessary, he could sell 2 heaven rejuvenation pills in the future. So, he was sure he had enough. His cultivation was currently only at the late stage of the foundation establishment realm, and it wasn't easy to obtain heavenly rejuvenation pills. It would be much safer to wait until after reaching the golden core realm to sell them. Since he wasn't lacking spirit stones, he could only wait. At the spirit herb garden, Jiang Hao saw the bubbles the moment he entered. Most of them were white. He felt good. He liked his life for now. If he went out, he not only had to interact with people, but he also had to do many things to keep himself safe. Facing powerful individuals would be fatal. He had to admit that there were many geniuses in the Star Moon City, and it was worth getting to know them. But after experiencing it, he still longed for the life he had built here. When he was in the Foundation Establishment realm, he had offended the Sunset Immortal sect in Heavenly Joy Pavilion. Later, killing Yin Hua had caused trouble with the Heavenly Saint sect. Now, with time, it seemed that the Sunset Immortal sect had let go of their grudge. Although it would take some time for the Heavenly Saint sect to do the same, it couldn't be helped. Perhaps the Heavenly Joy Pavilion would finally let go as well. So, Jiang Hao thought it was safer to stay here and cultivate spirit herbs until those people could let go of their grudges. There was no need to go to other places. He couldn't escape Hong Yuye's grasp anyway. At noon, Qingqiu returned. How did it go? Jiang Hao asked. I did find a lot of information, Qingqiu said. I went to the drought-affected areas this year, and they said that it has been raining for a month now, and the Zhuang family has survived. Not only that, but they also feel that this year might be a year of abundance. In places where there was flooding, the water receded, and many people managed to survive. They all feel that it's the mercy of the immortals and the blessings of heaven. Jiang Hao nodded. He knew that this was the influence of the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment. He originally thought the impact wouldn't be so significant, but he hadn't expected it to be so terrifying. With the rise in spiritual energy, the land became even more fertile. It affected both ordinary people and cultivators. It was no wonder that all living things sought to destroy it. The better the environment, the more unfavorable it was for their development. Is there any problem with your cultivation? Jiang Hao asked. There are some issues, Qingqiu said without hesitation. On this day, in addition to tending to some spiritual herbs, Jiang Hao was willing to help with some explanations. Qingqiu had been in the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm for several years now. With a few more years of steady progress, he could try to advance to the middle stage. Don't try to advance too fast. It's easy to lose focus, especially when you see others catching up. Your state of mind at this moment is crucial, Jiang Hao said. Shaoli and Chu Chuan would soon surpass Qingqiu. It was easy to become impatient, especially for Qingqiu. So he needed some guidance. Senior brother Jiang, rest assured I understand, Qingqiu said respectfully. He understood very well. Junior sister Shaoli and junior brother Chu Chuan would both surpass him soon. Not only would they surpass him, but they might also make him feel lesser. Have you been keeping an eye on Linji? Jiang Hao asked. After Jiang Hao left, Qingqiu had kept an eye on Linji. Nothing much has happened in the past few months. Junior brother Linji leads a very disciplined life, but he is often bullied by others, Qingqiu said. Qingqiu had known about Linji for a long time, as he had inquired about Linji's background before. However, Linji was only at the first stage of the lifeblood refinement realm despite so many years. But for some reason, senior brother Jiang was interested in him, which left Ching Chou puzzled. However, senior brother Jiang must have his own reasons. All Ching Chou had to do was wait and see. Although senior brother Jiang was only at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm, he gave Ching Chou the feeling that he had seen and experienced a lot. After all, as long as senior brother Jiang was around, anything in the spirit herb garden could be handled. This had been Ching Chou's experience over the past few years. Chapter 455. Heavenly King comes and goes as he pleases. By the way, there's something I need to tell you, senior brother Jiang. During the recent trip outside, I heard a lot of people talking about the Blood Wish Path. Ching Chou hesitated for a moment. What is it? Jiang Hao asked. They said you are practicing the Blood Wish Path, and there was an incident related to it in an area outside. It happened in the last few months. Many people believe that you are attempting to break through to the Golden Core realm using the Blood Wish Path. If it were just the people within the sect, it wouldn't be a big deal. But the problem is that the Black Heaven sect, the Sunset Immortal sect, and other sects have received news about you practicing the Blood Wish Path. Now, in their eyes, you are a bloodthirsty demon who has committed an unforgivable sin. They might start a crusade against you, Ching Chou said. Jiang Hao lowered his head. When did this incident happen? It was around the end of April near the location of the sects, Ching Chou said. End of April. Jiang Hao remembered that he was still within the sect at that time. He left in early May. But who would care about that? The demonic sect didn't care if it was him or not. They just believed it to be true. The immortal sects wouldn't have anyone to vouch for or against him either. So, there was nothing more to be said. Once something happened, and if someone popped up who matched the description, it was a done deal. Were there any good people left in the Heavenly Note sect? Jiang Hao smiled self-deprecatingly. He was indeed no saint, but there were certain things he hadn't done. Do you think you might need to explain things, senior brother Jiang? Ching Chou asked. Explain? Jiang Hao shook his head and chuckled. No need to worry about them. It's their business how they feel. Explanation would be of no use. Since these people had already made up their minds, there was no changing it. Everyone had to pay the price for their actions. Whether it was him or them, they had to take responsibility for their deeds and their words. Furthermore, an explanation could never dispel their suspicions. He was, after all, a disciple of a demonic sect. There was no need for him to defend himself. They wouldn't dare to barge into the sect, and it didn't matter how they tried to attack from outside. There's one more thing, Ching Chou said. Senior brother Jiang, did you go to the Sea Fog Cave before? It seems that something has happened there and they want you to confirm something. The Sea Fog Cave had problems? This surprised Jiang Hao. The next day he talked with the people from the law enforcement hall and then followed a senior brother who had reached the Golden Core realm to the Sea Fog Cave. On the way, they also found several juniors who had previously visited the cave. Ji Bian from the law enforcement hall. Wu Shi from the Thunder Fire Peak. Qiao Xiu from the 100 Bones Forest. All of them were surprised to see Jiang Hao and wondered why he had returned. Soon they arrived at the Sea Fog Cave. Normally, the poisonous mist would have extended much further, but when they arrived at the stone tablet, there was no trace of the sea fog. Now let's confirm it again. Is this where you all stopped last time? The senior brother at the Golden Core realm looked at everyone. The sea fog retreated? This was unexpected for Jiang Hao. However, he thought it was unlikely that the people from the Thunder Fire Peak had come here and dispelled it. The Thunder Fire Peak disciples would not have brought them here if that were the case. Senior brother Jiang, what happened here? Ji Bian asked. They clearly remembered that there was poisonous fog in this area. In recent times, probably within the last month, I don't know why, but the sea fog suddenly receded. We're not sure where it has gone for now, the senior at the Golden Core realm said. Upon hearing this, Jiang Hao was surprised. Within the last month. Could it be the influence of the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment? He was concerned. Usually, anything that could be influenced by the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment was not ordinary. The Sea Fog Cave was not safe. Should we go inside and check? Qiao Xiu suddenly asked. Jiang Hao silently took a step back and intended to leave this place. After all, it was not a sect mission, and he was not obliged to take any risks, especially since he had seen a figure here before. The Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl had been affected by the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment, and now, even the poisonous fog here had been affected. Although the two couldn't be equated, they were somewhat similar. Ordinary poisonous fog wouldn't be so greatly affected. The Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment needed to maintain balance so it couldn't suppress everything. What do you think, junior brother Jiang? The Golden Core Realm senior asked. I think it's better to leave it to the seniors who are more suitable to investigate this matter, Jiang Hao respectfully said. In that case, let's go back. The senior at the Golden Core Realm also didn't want to take any risks. Before leaving, Jiang Hao looked at the stone tablet. The only text left on it now were the 3 characters, Heavenly Note Sect. The sentence in the language of the Heavenly Spirit Tribe had disappeared. Jiang Hao didn't speak and began to retreat. He knew that there was probably some powerful creature here, but it couldn't be left at will. The Heavenly Note Sect had too many mysteries. The mining site, Devil's Den, and now the Sea Fog Cave. The Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl was found in Devil's Denver. Other treasures might be in the mines. But he wasn't certain. So far, only the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl was in his hands, and he could confirm the existence of some sinister creature inside. As he returned to the Spirit Herb Garden, Jiang Hao planned to find an opportunity to go to the Lawless Tower and ask the seniors there about the situation in the Sea Fog Cave. They had been there for quite some time, so they should have made some discoveries. In the evening, he arrived at the Lawless Tower and inquired with the guard at the gate. The Sea Fog Cave? The senior in the black robe frowned slightly. The situation is not good. This surprised Jiang Hao. If the people of the Lawless Tower felt that the situation was bad, then it must be very bad. Soon he got his answer. Disappeared? Jiang Hao exclaimed. Yes, senior sister Insha led a group inside, but afterward she disappeared. Although we are still trying to find her, there has been no news for several months, said the senior brother in the black robe. Jiang Hao had met her before. She was one of the few people he had interacted with the most. But they should not be in immediate danger, at least for now, the senior brother in the black robe said. Jiang Hao nodded. He really didn't want anything to happen to the senior sister because she was the one he was most familiar with. If she were to remain in the Lawless Tower, it would provide some assurance for his future visits. Moreover, her status and position were not low, and she was easy to communicate with. Such people were not easy to come by. He arrived in front of Zhuang Yuzhen. He couldn't think of any way he could be of any help to him. Senior, you are still in the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. Jiang Hao was surprised to see that Zhuang Yuzhen was the same. Even after being here for so long, Zhuang Yuzhen could maintain his cultivation. It was truly remarkable. He can stay here because of my silver tongue. Otherwise, he would have been gone long ago, said Hai Luo, the Heavenly King, with a sneer. You brat. You flatter yourself too much. Zhuang Yuzhen chuckled. Jiang Hao looked at Heavenly King Hai Luo in puzzlement. The value that Hai Luo provided should have been long gone. The people from overseas who had been captured had been released after their kin had paid their ransom. So, why was Heavenly King Hai Luo still here? Did no one pay your ransom? Jiang Hao asked. Ransom? What a joke. Do you think I can't leave willingly? I'm just bored and playing around. I'm not stuck here. Hai Luo sneered. Let me ask you a question. How much do you know about the Heavenly Spirit Tribe? Jiang Hao suddenly asked because he remembered the writing in the Sea Fog Cave, especially that one sentence. Chapter 456, 100 Ways to Make You Kneel and Beg for Mercy. Heavenly Spirit Tribe? Zhuang Yuzhen furrowed his brows slightly. The tribe must be located overseas and isn't a particularly notable group. Are there any other details, like legends about their tribe? Jiang Hao asked. He wasn't particularly concerned about it, and it wasn't a major issue. He was just curious. Even if someone with ulterior motives found out about him asking questions, it wouldn't matter because senior sister Insha's disappearance might be related to the Heavenly Spirit Tribe, so he was just trying to help. There are quite a few, said Hai Luo. It is said that the Heavenly Spirit Tribe used to be a major tribe. It was called the God Clan. The words Heavenly Spirit say it all. It was believed that all living creatures born out of heaven and living under them were a manifestation of them. It said that they had astonishing natural talent and were in harmony with heaven and earth. They possessed divine abilities. However, at some point their status changed and they were rejected by heaven and earth. They even struggled to cultivate. Today they are just a moderately sized tribe. Even members of their tribe are polite to me when they meet me. You brat. Zhuang Yuzhen sneered. Hai Luo was taken aback. Old scum, are you provoking me? Inside this tower, I have 100 ways to make you kneel and beg for mercy. Jiang Hao didn't pay much attention to their argument but felt something was amiss. Why had the Heavenly Spirit tribe suddenly lost their protection? Was the sea fog cave related to them? He had seen the writings there, and the one who went to investigate the area should have seen them too. The Heavenly Spirit tribe must have been investigated as well. It meant that the danger in the cave might be manageable. Old bastard, aren't you still rotting here? Surprisingly, the esteemed Divine Corpse sect hasn't even offered to ransom you, said Hai Luo sarcastically. You little brat, do you think I've lost my value just like you? Zhuang Yuzhen retorted. Jiang Hao asked a few more questions about the Heavenly Spirit tribe, their special abilities, and any abilities that could have a significant impact. However, he didn't get the answers he was looking for. With a helpless shake of his head, Jiang Hao got up and bid them farewell. In fact, Zhuang Yuzhen came here because of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. The reasons behind it and the person who provided the information had not been disclosed yet. The Lawless Tower wouldn't easily let him leave. Heavenly King Hai Luo, on the other hand, had no value anymore. He wasn't useful to the Heavenly Note sect. That's why one could be let go after accepting ransom while the other couldn't. After leaving the Lawless Tower, Jiang Hao thought about the sea fog cave. Want unparalleled talent? Come to me and I will grant it to you. Those were the words he had seen on the stone tablet. What does it mean? Jiang Hao muttered to himself. The matter seemed to exceed his capabilities. All he could do was keep an eye on it. After all, he wouldn't enter the sea fog cave. He didn't know how dangerous it might be inside. At the marketplace, Jiang Hao planned to sell some talismans so that he could get spirit stones to take care of the spirit herbs. He had already planted the holy medicine seed, but it required spiritual stones every day for its maintenance. He didn't want to use the spirit stones he had on him, so selling talismans was the best solution. He had made quite a few when he was in the Starmoon City. It was enough to sell and earn a bit of spirit stones. After setting up the talismans, he sat cross-legged on the ground. There were not many customers today, so his income wasn't that high. Junior brother Jiang? Someone approached shortly after he sat down. It was his senior sister Leng Tian. Senior sister Leng Tian had reached the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm, and it seemed like she wasn't too far from reaching the Golden Core realm. Senior sister Leng, Jiang Hao greeted her politely. I heard you're going to advance to the Golden Core realm soon? Leng Tian crouched down and smiled. Jiang Hao shook his head. That's all just nonsense. Leng Tian looked at Jiang Hao and glanced around. I also think the rumors are too far-fetched. It doesn't seem like you would use the Blood Wish path. However, I've heard that more people are learning about the Blood Wish path lately, and some have even started practicing it. Jiang Hao smiled but didn't explain further. He would wait for junior brother Han to return before displaying his cultivation realm at the Golden Core realm. He wondered if Leng's senior sister would choose to believe the rumors at that time. Given his talent, it might seem like a rapid promotion. Do you need any talismans, senior sister Leng? Jiang Hao asked. Of course. By the way, junior brother Jiang, are you going to start making higher-grade talismans? Leng Tian asked as she held a healing talisman and 100,000 swords talisman in her hand. She bought a total of 20 healing talismans and 100,000 swords talisman. I'm thinking of learning them, Jiang Hao said. Leng Tian paid 900 spirit stones and then picked up one healing talisman. Since I bought 20 of them, do I get one for free? Sure. You can even choose the 100,000 swords talisman for free, Jiang Hao said. Healing talismans were 30 spirit stones each, and 100,000 swords talisman was 60 spirit stones. In that case, I won't stand on ceremony. I always feel comfortable buying talismans from you, she said before taking 20 healing talismans and an additional 100,000 swords talisman. She paid 900 spirit stones in total. Not bad at all. A customer who spends 1,800 spirit stones on me deserves such treatment. If senior sister Leng Tian reached the Golden Core realm, she probably wouldn't be weaker than him. He was even looking forward to her advancement. However, it was hard to believe that a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator could spend 1,800 spirit stones on talismans. I and my seniors are preparing to leave for a while to advance to Golden Core alchemists. These items are essential for our safety, Leng Tian said. After Leng Tian left, Jiang Hao set up his stall again. He sold 3 healing talismans and 200,000 swords talismans in the end. He earned a total of 150 spirit stones. Along the way, someone bought 5 divine walk talismans for 1 spirit stone. Jiang Hao had made these talismans and always put them on display. However, they were never in high demand. It It was surprising to see someone buying it. After closing the stall, Jiang Hao went to the Snow Lotus Pavilion and bought Jade Spirit Liquid and Ordinary Spirit Liquid. One bottle of Jade Spirit Liquid cost 300 Spirit Stones, and there were 30 bottles in total. He also bought 10 bottles of Spirit Liquid. In total, he purchased 5 bottles of Jade Spirit Liquid and 10 bottles of Spirit Liquid. 1,800 Spirit Stones were just gone. Today, most of the earnings were spent. He still had a few bottles of Jade Spirit Liquid on him that he bought in the Star Moon City. The price was 280 Spirit Stones each. It was slightly cheaper. In the beginning, he felt that the Spirit Stones were reducing too quickly, so he didn't buy them all. It was a typical small vendor mentality. Jiang Hao had already reflected on himself and would probably do the same next time. Planting sweet leaf cold grass required about 5,000 Spirit Stones in total, which was quite expensive. However, he had won the seed and the prospect of getting a purple bubble was too tempting. Jiang Hao looked at the corner where the sweet leaf cold grass seed was planted. It had only been 7 days and there were still 42 days to go. After 42 days passed, it was already mid-September. Jiang Hao walked into his courtyard and sure enough, the sweet leaf cold grass had sprouted tender shoots. Next to it was a floating purple bubble. Jiang Hao hurried over. It is indeed a purple bubble. I just don't know how many more days it will take for other bubbles to appear. In theory, holy medicine seed should produce blue bubbles, but it was uncertain how soon they would appear. However, he now knew how to plant them. It was best to continue watering the plant with spirit liquid. After being influenced by divine items long enough, plain water could be used. It was quite expensive in the early stages. 5 days later, a white bubble appeared. 10 days later, a green bubble appeared. 15 days later, a blue bubble appeared. After observing for another half a month, Jiang Hao found that the white and green bubbles were not produced on regular days, but the time interval didn't fluctuate much. Blue bubbles, on the other hand, took at least 15 days to spawn. Now, in mid-October, Jiang Hao focused on the immortal peach tree. He needed to check on its progress for another incarnation. Chapter 457, He will come to kill you at night. Seeing the number of spirit stones required, Jiang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. He could afford it. Even though he had repaid 1,500 to the law enforcement hall during these few days and had spent a considerable amount of spirit stones on the sweet leaf cold grass, he still had 25,000 left. This was due to the diligent sales of talismans in recent days. However, after the incarnation he probably wouldn't have many spirit stones left. If he wanted to accumulate over 10,000 again, he would need to sell heavenly rejuvenation pills. Fortunately, he didn't need spirit stones for the time being. He could continue to manage with just a few hundred spirit stones for the tea he used for Hong Yuya. She only visited once every few months, so he didn't need too much tea. This time, the incarnation might result in another purple bubble, which means I'm just one bubble away from gaining another divine ability. Jiang Hao was in anticipation for another divine ability. Each divine ability had its uses, and it could significantly boost his combat power. For example, when combined with the reappearance of Hidden Spirit, his strength far exceeded what it was before. After picking some peaches, Jiang Hao went to the Spirit Herb Garden. He gave the peaches to Cheng Chou. They were still delicious and had no other changes. Senior brother Jiang, something has happened recently, Cheng Chou said in a hushed voice after receiving the peaches. Several people have died in the ice Moon Valley's Spirit Herb Garden, and it's said to be the work of the Blood Wish Path. This has already affected the progress of the Spirit Herb Garden, and their people have started investigating. They even got the law enforcement hall involved. Jiang Hao was quite surprised. How long has this been going on? It's been several days. People have been dying serially. The management of the Spirit Herb Garden wouldn't have reported it unless they couldn't take it anymore. They don't want to make the issue too big, Cheng Chou said. They would have endured it because they didn't want to seem incompetent. Were they all ordinary people? Jiang Hao asked. Yes. Cheng Chou nodded. Without the sect backing them, the law enforcement hall wouldn't go all out. Because everyone assumes that you, senior brother Jiang, practice the Blood Wish sect, the blame has been shifted on you. They want you to explain. Some people from the Ice Moon Valley even said that those individuals had long wanted to work for you, so they died for the Blood Wish path. Jiang Hao lowered his head. He felt like someone was targeting him, but he hadn't provoked anyone lately. The Spirit Herb Garden had not had any conflicts with others. Why would he be targeted suddenly? Could it be senior brother Chen? His intention must be to make the sect pay attention to me, not make me the target of everyone's hostility within the sect. Jiang Hao didn't respond to this matter, and he chose to ignore the Ice Moon Valley's request for answers. Although the deaths might be blamed on him, the Ice Moon Valley wouldn't be targeting him personally but rather the Cliff of Broken Hearts. Currently, no one from the Cliff of Broken Hearts had come looking for him, so he didn't want to press it further. If they wanted him to apologize, then he would apologize. As for compensation, that would be troublesome. The next day, a senior brother came over to the garden. He was in the Soul Ascension realm. Jiang Hao had never seen this senior before. He appeared to be in his late 20s and looked calm. His aura was astonishing. He looked to be in the early stage of the Soul Ascension realm, but judging from the aura he secretly emitted, he was probably already in the late or even the peak stage. "Are you junior brother Jiang Hao?" the senior asked. "Yes, senior brother. May I know who you are?" Jiang Hao lowered his head respectfully. Bai said. "The senior disciple of the Cliff of Broken Hearts?" Jiang Hao was shocked. "Hello, senior brother Bai," Jiang Hao said. "I'm here for the matter concerning the Ice Moon Valley. I have a question for you," Bai said softly. "Of course. Please ask away." Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. He realized that he would need to respond to the rumors. "Did you kill those people?" Bai asked. "No," Jiang Hao said. Before he could think of an explanation, Bai nodded. "I see." He then turned and left. The next day, the Cliff of Broken Hearts responded by admitting to the killings. They had killed the people, and since they were dead, that was the end of it. If they were short on people, they could just recruit a few ordinary non-cultivators and count them as compensation. If they thought the Cliff of Broken Hearts was temporarily without a master and they could push them around, they could come and try. Jiang Hao was stunned by this response. Bai had directly admitted to it, but it didn't seem like he was yielding. His tone seemed to be saying that if anyone dared, they could come to the Cliff of Broken Hearts. "I thought that senior brother Bai wasn't reckless, but he might provoke more trouble if the others decide to confront him directly. But if the others don't confront him head-on, then they can only swallow their pride and keep quiet. Senior brother also mentioned our master. He probably wants other branch masters to get involved. After all, our master led a team to the Bright Moon sect. If something happened to our branch now, it would easily upset the sect's balance." As expected, the matter was smoothed over by the law enforcement hall, and it seemed that they had identified the real culprits and were pursuing them. Jiang Hao had gained some insight into senior brother Bai. However, without Lu Xingqian's presence, he had no information about the individuals who had taken action this time. Otherwise, he could try to appraise the person targeting him. But it might have been just a coincidence. In early November, the matter with the Ice Moon Valley had completely dissipated, and Jiang Hao met another person, Pei Yuan, who practiced the Blood Wish path. His aura was dense, and he had already reached the Golden Core realm. How could it have happened so fast? Jiang Hao was somewhat surprised. When he first saw Pei Yuan, he was only in the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. But soon he reached the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm. Now they were already at the Golden Core realm. The Blood Wish path's progress couldn't have been this quick. Pei Yuan looked at him with a mocking smile as if flaunting his achievement. As he got closer, Jiang Hao noticed that although Pei Yuan's aura was dense, his cultivation was not solid enough, and his spiritual sense carried a hint of black energy. His body also had a touch of death energy. He won't live for more than 20 years if he doesn't advance further. Golden Core realm cultivators had a lifespan of 500 years, but with such advancement, Pei Yuan had less than 20 years left. "Senior brother Jiang, you haven't reached the Golden Core realm yet?" Yuan sneered. "Junior brother Pei, you are truly remarkable. Did you have guidance from your master?" Jiang Hao asked. Pei Yuan suddenly changed the topic of their conversation. "Senior brother Jiang, you are only at the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm, while I'm in the early stage of the Golden Core realm. According to etiquette, you should address me as senior brother, right? Isn't that so, junior brother Jiang?" Jiang Hao remained silent. Jiang Hao sensed the killing intent emanating from this person as if he was determined to kill him. Did Pei Yun have a beef against him? Was it because Jiang Hao hadn't guided him in the past? He appraised Pei Yuan. Chapter 458. Don't try to deceive me with petty illusions. The feedback this time was somewhat unexpected. It was the first time he had witnessed a fellow disciple daring to make a move within the sect. Is it because he has only 20 years left to live, so he wants to leave? Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. It seemed that when a person was at the end of their life they could do anything. It was better to avoid such people in the future, as they might become fanatical at the slightest inconvenience. With a hearty laugh, Pei Yuan left. He seemed satisfied to see Jiang Hao lower his head. However, the killing intent remained. As he watched Pei Yuan leave, Jiang Hao felt that this person might end up killing quite a few others and he was just one of them. If he wasn't the first, then things would be much easier to handle. However, if he was the first victim, openly confronting the enemy might lead to trouble. Jiang Hao shook his head. He was not in a hurry and he would deal with it calmly. At night. Senior brother, Pei, I was forced to follow behind senior brother Cheng. I wasn't the one who robbed your resources back then. I saw that you didn't look well, so I even gave you a piece of spirit stone. A Foundation establishment late-stage cultivator had a wound on his abdomen. He kept retreating until he was in a corner against the wall. Gave me a spirit stone? Pei Yuan asked. Pei Yuan, with fresh blood on his clothing, gradually approached the man with a cruel smile on his lips. Back then, did you think I should be grateful to you? You robbed me and still expect my gratitude? What a joke. Are you trying to insult me? Don't worry, I've already killed senior brother Cheng, now it's your turn. But during the sect's mission I saved you, said the man at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm in terror. Saved me? Why did you save me? Wasn't it because you wanted to rob me? Pei Yuan thrust his long sword forward. Although the man had defensive magical treasures, they were ineffective against a golden core realm cultivator. The sword pierced his body. Pei Yuan laughed maniacally. He pulled the sword out and was ready to decapitate the man in front of him. The bloodied sword swung swiftly. At that moment, a faint light shot past. Clang. The sword was repelled. Who is it? Pei Yuan looked back. He had been keeping an eye on his surroundings and hadn't noticed anyone approaching. The only explanation was that he had fallen for an illusion created by the person before him. It's me. Jiang Hao appeared at the doorway and looked at Pei Yuan. Huh. Pei Yuan looked slightly surprised. You are here? I was about to come find you after I'm done here. Why the rush? I have a few questions for you, Jiang Hao said. Illusion. Pei Yuan realized that the senior brother who had been beside him had disappeared, and he hadn't sensed anyone approaching. The only explanation was that he had fallen for an illusion cast by the person before him. I guess so. Jiang Hao nodded. I want to ask you, who taught you the blood wish path? Hearing this, Pei Yuan burst into laughter. You noticed it too? The blood wish path cultivation I practice is the most authentic one. And why are you talking to me with such an attitude? Don't tell me you think a mere illusion can trap. Let's change the topic. Who is Wei? Jiang Hao asked. Who? Pei Yuan appeared puzzled. Jiang Hao was surprised. So, Pei Yuan didn't know Wei was the one guiding him. Had he used a false name? I actually don't know anything about the blood wish path, Jiang Hao said. Pei Yuan just smiled. At the moment, just as Jiang Hao was about to speak, he suddenly moved. A red sword aura slashed toward Jiang Hao. It had a hint of madness. The sword pierced Jiang Hao's body, but it turned out to be just a shadow. A long knife sliced across Pei Yuan's neck. For an instant, he felt that his entire life force dissipated. What's your cultivation realm? This blow far exceeded his expectations, and he couldn't understand why he was thinking about this at the last moments of his life. Early stage of the primordial spirit realm, Jiang Hao said. With a thud, Pei Yuan fell to the ground. Before leaving, Jiang Hao delivered 2 more blows and then retrieved the valuable items from Pei Yuan's storage treasure. He then returned the storage treasure to the body. After that, he backed out of the room. At this moment, the person at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm was lying in a corner in confusion. Pei Yuan had disappeared as if he had just left. He wanted to leave this place, but his injuries were too severe. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. When he saw the person's face, he felt dread. Pei Yuan is dead? The eerie feeling left him with lingering fear. He wanted to leave, but he couldn't move. He abandoned all dignity and shouted for help. Help! Help! Back in the courtyard, Jiang Hao sat under the immortal peach tree and began to take stock of his gains. This time he acted fast to avoid trouble. Since the other person had struck first against someone else, it made things much easier. Killing someone who had already murdered someone would not necessarily result in punishment. As long as the heavily wounded individual had the courage, they could easily take credit for the act. Even if the law enforcement peak knew that someone else had committed the murder, they would not investigate it seriously. They certainly would not resort to the heavenly essence soul modeling mirror. So, acting at that moment was the safest option. The only regret was that he hadn't been able to obtain any more information. As rumors became more exaggerated, there might be people coming to him in the future seeking guidance on the blood wish path. That would be troublesome. He just hoped that others wouldn't be as short-tempered as junior brother Pei Yuan. Otherwise it would not be good for anyone. Putting aside these questions, Jiang Hao began to inspect junior brother Pei Yuan's belongings. Naturally he was most interested in spirit stones. There were no surprises. Pei Yuan had little to no savings. It only amounted to 135 spirit stones. People who had just advanced to the golden core realm were not very well off. The only item of note was a simple foundation establishment pill, but it couldn't be sold since it was usually sold by the bottle, not individually. There were no magical treasures, but there was a book and a token. The book was titled Blood Divine Path Lifeblood Refinement Technique. Divine Path. Jiang Hao was surprised. Wasn't the blood wish path an evil technique? He began to read the book because he was curious. He could understand it at the beginning but became increasingly cryptic and difficult to understand toward the end. He activated his clear and pure heart ability. After a long time, Jiang Hao had a general understanding of the contents of the book. The blood wish path required a blood vow. The more sincere a person was, the more effective their blood would be. It caused fewer side effects. The less sincere the person, the more one's lifespan would be consumed to make progress in the blood wish path. Absorbing blood in one go was the most effective method. Splitting it up greatly reduced the effect but had a lesser chance of side effects. The blood gourd was used for steady and prolonged cultivation. This method was considered evil because it required the death of too many people to create just one blood gourd. Jiang Hao had also read through the cultivation techniques, which he could roughly understand. In fact, the cruelest aspect of the blood wish path was that both parties needed to be sincere in their vows for it to be the highest quality blood vow. In essence, it meant using the lives of one's most loved and dearest people to pave the way for cultivation. Chapter 459. I Have a Friend. Jiang Hao put away the book and picked up the token. One word was written on it, spirit. Spirit? He said in puzzlement and then decided to appraise it. The appraisal result was very straightforward. It was clear that Pei Yuan intended to leave the Heavenly Note sect and head to the Heavenly Spirit tribe overseas. What puzzled Jiang Hao was where Pei Yuan had obtained this token. Perhaps he bought it from someone or maybe he stole it. But it didn't matter. After inspecting everything, he still couldn't find any information about Yin Wei. However, he just wanted to know who this person was and had no intention of making contact or investigating further. If he could find out, that would be enough. If not, he wouldn't force it. For now, he wanted to continue with his current life and focus on his cultivation. In the early morning, the stone tablet vibrated. It was about tonight's gathering. This time, it was a genuine gathering, unlike the previous ones that were all about the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment. It was a good opportunity to ask about the elder from the Blood Shadow sect. If he succeeded, there would be the next step to consider. At noon, while Jiang Hao was tending to spirit herbs, 3 senior disciples arrived. They were dressed in attires that were unique to the law enforcement hall. They looked very serious. Junior brother Jiang, there are some questions we need to ask you, the senior at the forefront said politely. Please ask, senior brothers, Jiang Hao said respectfully. Junior brother Pei Yuan was killed last night, said the other disciple bluntly. He visited you yesterday. We want to know what you talked about. Jiang Hao did not hide anything and recounted all the details of their conversation. After listening to him, the seniors nodded. Junior brother Jiang, we think you had a motive for murder, so for now, please stay within the sect, the leading senior said. Until we reach a conclusion, you should be ready to cooperate with us at any time. If you have important matters outside, you must inform the law enforcement hall. Otherwise you. Senior brother, at this point, the other disciple interrupted. There's no need to explain. Why? The leading senior was puzzled. Senior brother, you have just returned from outside and may not be aware, the junior disciple whispered. Junior brother Jiang's name has actually been on the law enforcement hall's suspect list for more than 10 years. He's associated with quite a few traitors. Moreover, he ranks high in the merit hall, and the task hall often talks about assigning him new missions. They can't wait to send him out. What's going on? The leading senior was utterly bewildered. On the list for more than 10 years? High rank in the merit hall? The task hall is eager to send him out? In that case, I won't say much more. Junior brother Jiang, you understand, right? Said the leading senior seriously. Our restrictions will only last for 2 months. If we don't return in 2 months, then this matter will be considered closed for you. As long as you're innocent, you don't have to worry. I understand. Jiang Hao nodded. Only 2 months meant that the matter was considered minor. After all, Pei Yuan did kill a fellow disciple. They were investigating the cause of death, mostly out of curiosity about the one who retaliated against him. The person from last night dared not admit to the killing. But if it were Jiang Hao himself, he probably wouldn't admit it either. It's better to avoid trouble when possible. After that, the law enforcement hall disciples left. Being familiar with the law enforcement hall had its advantages. As long as it wasn't a major issue, they were usually accommodating, and the task hall and merit hall also put pressure on the investigation. After all, they were after spirit stones. After seeing the disciples off, Jiang Hao resumed tending to the spirit herbs. He had already checked the herbs sent by the 100 Bones forest. They were still helping him infuse spiritual energy into the garden, but he couldn't figure out why. Was it for reconciliation? It had been a long time, and he should find the time to see how Bai Yi was. At midnight, Jiang Hao looked at the stone tablet, took a deep breath and entered it. This time he didn't know what kind of task he would receive, so he had to be cautious. He was worried that someone might want him to handle affairs in the southern region, which he couldn't do easily with his current strength. If someone asked him to do it, he couldn't refuse, but if he accepted the task, it would be problematic. It was okay to be involved once or twice, but over time he might be questioned. So, if possible, it would be best to avoid such matters and continue to keep a low profile. Fortunately, due to the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment, his reputation had improved significantly, and they wouldn't easily ask him for help. In the public area, the 4 of them paid their respects to Dan Yuan and then sat cross-legged on the ground. Do any of you have questions about your cultivation? Dan Yuan asked. It was the standard opening to their gathering. After thinking for a moment, Jiang Hao couldn't come up with any cultivation-related questions. He could ask about the blood wish path, but that wasn't really a cultivation question. He would have to wait and see if there was an opportunity later. Senior, I have a friend who recently used a curse and it seems to have gone wrong. He's afflicted by an uncontrollable curse. Is there any way to alleviate it? Gui asked. Dan Yuan glanced at Gui. To what extent does it need to be alleviated? Just a little relief would be fine, Gui said. In the eastern region there's a plant called mind relief grass that can help alleviate curses, but it requires a special method, Dan Yuan said. One think you know the rest. Indeed. Gui nodded. In fact, there's another method. Dan Yuan looked at Jiang Hao. Friend Jing, you should know about it, right? I don't know, don't ask me. Jiang Hao felt helpless. However, Dan Yuan would never ask anything without reason. By asking now, it seemed like he was seeking his opinions, which meant this thing was related to him. So what was it? Jiang Hao thought of the heavenly fate misfortune pearl. That item could suppress curses. I know, but Gui might be hesitant to use it, Jiang Hao said in a low voice. What is it? Gui looked puzzled. Go to the Heavenly Note sect and borrow the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, Jiang Hao said. Gui was speechless. This was quite challenging because the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl was not something an ordinary person could use. Even borrowing it might lead to karmic consequences and various other problems. The sealed Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl is said to have miraculous effects, but I have never seen it. Friend Jing seems to have completely grasped it. Dan Yuan looked at the others. After confirming that there were no more questions, Dan Yuan said, Do we have any news about the Saint Bandits? It seems that the Bright Moon sect has some information about the Saint Bandits' origins. They most likely come from the Heavenly Spirit tribe, Xing said. Members of the Bright Moon sect had fought against the Saint Bandits, so they had some knowledge about them. The Heavenly Spirit tribe? Lu found it hard to believe. The Heavenly Spirit tribe overseas? They are the Saint Bandits? Jiang Hao was also surprised. In an instant he recalled the words from the Sea Fog Cave. If you seek talent, you can find me. Those words were indeed similar to the Saint Bandit style, and they used the Heavenly Spirit tribe's language. For a moment he was worried that the sea fog cave might have a direct connection with the Saint Bandits. This information is crucial, Dan Yuan said with a smile. Xing, you can consider asking whatever you want, or you can also choose to cancel a portion of the previous transaction. I'll choose to cancel it, Xing said. Dan Yuan nodded and didn't assign any more tasks. Xing turned to Jiang Hao. Friend Jing, I've completed your task. Jiang Hao nodded. It was Lu's turn now. He had to find a way to make Lu owe him a favor. Chapter 460. Impersonating Someone. After discussing a few more matters, the gathering came to an end with Dan Yuan's reminder. Once Jiang Hao left the public forum, he took out his notebook and wrote down the things that they had discussed. This time there were quite a few things to focus on. The Saint Bandits might be associated with the Heavenly Spirit tribe, which suggested a connection between the Saint Bandits and the Sea Fog Cave. Qi Tian's undercover mission had begun, and they would need to rely on Lu for further information. He could then find more information on the end of all things and about San Sheng. Gui might come to borrow the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. He needed to handle this situation carefully and preferably avoid mentioning the Heavenly Fragrance Dao flower. There were sightings of the people from the Heavenly Note sect underwater, and it was speculated to be Senior Sister Insha and others. The Sea Fog Cave might connect to the underwater world, and the individuals emerging from there were likely from the Heavenly Spirit tribe, which was also connected to the Saint Bandits. These were the 4 main points. The third was the most crucial because it directly involved Jiang Hao. The 4th point was also important. If he could help, he would. However, there wasn't much information available at the moment. Fortunately, Lu had already started investigating the matter and would provide updates on the situation. Jiang Hao also needed to be cautious about one more thing. Lu would know that those individuals were disciples of the Heavenly Note sect, and others might find out too. He didn't know if that would cause trouble for the sect, as many would be curious about how they reached there. If there are valuable treasures inside, many people will want to explore it. In the near future, some people might come to visit or send undercover agents to gather more information, Jiang Hao muttered. However, the Sea Fog Cave was not well known within the sect, so not many people would investigate it. After putting away the notebook, Jiang Hao began writing information about San Sheng. After a long time he had almost written half a book. San Sheng didn't have a tragic past, he acted capriciously, and his emotions were unpredictable. One moment he could be enjoying a drink and the next he could draw his sword to kill. It was said that he originally came from the prestigious 10,000 Dharma sect. He offended one of the sect's elders, fled, and then returned with a new identity. This time he had a good relationship with that elder. When the elder fully trusted him, he struck him with his sword. At this point, his cultivation had surpassed the elders and he was toying with him. After leaving the sect, he roamed the southern region. He left a smiley face whenever he killed someone. Each smiley face was unique. Jiang Hao had seen some of these smiley faces on the stone tablet and sketched them. What surprised him, however, was that there was no repetition among the recorded smiley faces. Nonetheless, it was evident from the records that San Sheng was ruthless and unpredictable, with no code of conduct. To completely impersonate him, one needed to obtain his treasure, the Thousand Faces treasure fan. This fan had been taken away by the Black Heaven sect, but San Sheng would likely retrieve it. The method to activate the fan was known only to him after all. So, if someone had the fan and could use it, they would be considered to be San Sheng himself. The information contained the method of use, which Jiang Hao had read carefully. It was very comprehensive. There was also information about what San Sheng had done for the end of all things. After writing all this, Jiang Hao hesitated for a moment and then appraised his notebook. He needed to verify if this information was genuine. It seems to be genuine. Jiang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. However, having this identity wouldn't help him find the other members of the end of all things. He needed to figure out the contact code. Otherwise problems could arise. But to completely take San Sheng's place, he needed to obtain the Thousand Faces treasure fan. It won't be easy to get from the Black Heaven sect. Jiang Hao thought that Xing could easily obtain it. Fortunately, he didn't need to use this identity for the time being. When he did, he would most likely be going outside and there was a high possibility that Hong Yuye would come with him. With her help, obtaining the Thousand Faces treasure fan might not be difficult at all. With these matters sorted out, Jiang Hao put away the notebook and began cultivating. A little while later, he opened his eyes and decided that today was as good a day as any to visit Bai Yi in the Hundred Bones Forest. With his decision made, Jiang Hao left his house. At the entrance to the valley, he stood in place and used the powerful perception that he learned from the Nameless Manual to spy on Bai Yi. Soon he sensed Bai Yi's aura. It was still at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm, and his injuries hadn't completely healed. It's strange. Why is he still suppressing himself with such minor injuries? Perhaps he sensed that I might take action, so he has been restraining himself? Jiang Hao believed this was highly likely. If that's the case, he probably won't leave the sect. I can't kill him. Bai Yi had contributed a lot to the sect and was a true disciple. Killing him would mean an affront to the Heavenly Note sect. Once the Heavenly Essence Soul modeling mirror was used, he would also meet his end, which wasn't worth it. He decided to wait a little longer. In the valley, Bai Yi sat on a chair and gazed at the sky. He felt that he might have escaped a calamity. As long as he continued like this, he would survive. After a while, Lian Qin walked to the courtyard and was surprised to see Bai Yi there. "Senior brother Bai, aren't you going to go inside and rest?" I felt a connection to the stars. It seems I can see my own star in the sky, albeit faintly. Bai Yi smiled as he looked at the stars. It hasn't diminished yet. Perhaps I will also have a stroke of good luck one day. But one wrong step and there will be no turning back from the calamity that follows. In the future, every step will be like walking on thin ice. Even though I might escape one calamity, I could die in the next one at any moment. Lian Qin didn't fully understand her senior brother, but usually he was right. "Do you have any news?" Bai Yi asked. "I conducted an investigation outside and found that more people are practicing the Blood Wish Path lately. The major sects are preparing to take action because the influence of the Blood Wish Path has spread to their side," said Lian Qin. Fingers are being pointed at Jiang Hao of the Cliff of Broken Hearts, especially due to the rumors. Now everyone seems to assume it's him. Moreover, with his cultivation almost at the Golden Core realm, people think it's highly likely. While he didn't harm ordinary people in the Spirit Herb Garden, he is almost certainly doing so outside. This has almost been confirmed. It's impossible. The heavenly fragrance Dao flower is in his courtyard. He wouldn't be practicing the Blood Wish Path. There should be some connection to senior brother Qian Qin, but the situation is more complex than anticipated. There might be other individuals manipulating things behind the scenes. Go and investigate, but don't get involved too deeply. It might not be someone we can handle, Bai Yi said. Lian Qin nodded. Then Bai Yi, who had been gazing at the stars, suddenly said, "Wait a moment. Don't rush to investigate the situation within the sect. Look into the situation outside. There might be some clues." Lian Qin nodded. 7 days later, Lian Qin walked to the courtyard. "Did you find anything?" Bai Yi asked. "I found someone who uses the Blood Wish Path. There was an attack outside." They mentioned Jiang Hao's name and even the Cliff of Broken Hearts, Lian Qin said. Bai Yi frowned. "Go to the Cliff of Broken Hearts and tell him the news." Chapter 461, Impersonating Someone 2. Qi Tian went overseas to collect information for Jiang Hao. It was so far away that Jiang Hao couldn't contact him. If he made the other party send messages frequently, it would be too risky. So he couldn't let Qi Tian contact him. He needed to make Qi Tian wait for him to make contact. And the method of contact couldn't be him going there personally. The best method was to have Lu find Qi Tian when the time came and send the message. With Lu's abilities, finding Qi Tian shouldn't be difficult. This would also let Qi Tian know that no matter where he went, he was still under someone else's control. That way he could be of better use. But for now, Lu had no favors he needed, so the only thing Jiang Hao could do was wait. There was no need to rush. It would take several years for Qi Tian to integrate into the end of all things with his cultivation realm. Regarding the end of all things, do you want to know about the eastern or southern part? Xing asked. The southern part, Jiang Hao said. In the southern part, I have an identity that you can use. Everyone assumes they belong to the end of all things. You can use that identity. The person never appears, so impersonating them wouldn't be a problem. You can rest assured of that. Does this work as compensation for the previous deal? Xing asked. He was referring to the reward for helping him find Gu Qing. At the time, Jiang Hao had mentioned the end of all things, but there had been no information until now. Xing had given him a whole identity to use. Sure. Jiang Hao nodded. Soon the identity was delivered through Senior Dan Yuan's stone tablet. It was the identity of San Sheng. Following that, a pile of information was provided, and Jiang Hao had to try to remember it and write it down later. It seemed easier to remember things on the stone tablet compared to outside. Perhaps it was because his consciousness had entered the tablet. Gui, did you receive the items? Xing looked at Gui. Yes. Gui nodded. With that, all the tasks related to the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment were fulfilled. Gui fell silent for a moment. Will the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl really work? Could she not come to the sect? Jiang Hao felt somewhat helpless but maintained an indifferent attitude. Under the seal it can be used to suppress curses. Is it safe? Gui asked curiously. Jiang Hao remained silent for a moment. It should be safe unless something unexpected happens. Gui nodded. She understood what he meant. But there was still a major issue. Can I borrow it? The Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl was no ordinary item. People at the gathering would need to ask Jing for permission if they wanted to borrow it. It wasn't as simple as finding the person only. Sure. Jiang Hao sighed. He didn't want to agree at first. Getting in touch with Gui would bring trouble. As soon as she got close, she would discover the presence of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower in his possession. That would lead to more complications, so he preferred to find a way to avoid it. I plan to use the star-shifting teleportation technique soon. Do you have any good defensive techniques? Lu asked. Jiang Hao didn't say anything, but he was unaware of such methods. I have a set of defensive techniques related to the star-shifting teleportation technique, but it will take some time. How long will it approximately take? Lu asked. It will take around 2 months, Xing said. All right. Lu wasn't in a hurry. Jiang Hao would have to wait until they had no transactions between them. Have you all noticed that there has been an abundant harvest, and the spiritual energy is rising everywhere lately? Is this all due to the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment? Asked Gui. Lu agreed. The same is happening overseas. It's incredible. Because of the help of the purple energy, the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment has almost reached the level of great luck. If she does something in the future, she can become a person who embodies great luck. The impact it brings is immense, Dan Yuan said. Jiang Hao lowered his head. The Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment was indeed extraordinary. However, he didn't envy it because the responsibilities borne by the one practicing it was not simple. After learning about the Heavenly Dao Foundation establishment, they discussed other matters in the surrounding area. I mentioned earlier that there was a situation at the bottom of the sea. They are still investigating it, and something strange happened recently, Lu said as he looked at everyone. It seems that a group of people appeared at the bottom of the sea, but they disappeared quickly. Out of curiosity, I went to take a look and found the same phenomenon. People appeared and then vanished. It felt strange, as if they weren't really there, as if it was just their shadows. However, I saw their attire and had it checked by someone. It turns out that these people might be from... Lu looked at Jiang Hao. They might be from the south, from the Heavenly Note sect. Jiang Hao's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't show it. People from the Heavenly Note sect? Why would they be at the bottom of the sea? Why would people from the Heavenly Note sect be at the bottom of the sea? Gui asked. That was what Jiang Hao had wanted to ask. He felt that the gathering couldn't do without Gui around. I don't know, but that place is strange. At first I thought something was about to emerge from there, but I couldn't find anything. After investigating further, there was nothing special. It wasn't until those people appeared that it felt strange, Lu said. If his assumption was true, the likelihood of senior sister Insha and her group appearing at the seabed was quite high. He had to keep an eye on the situation. But Lu might not mention it next time. After some hesitation, Jiang Hao said in a low voice, it may be related to the Saint Bandits. Jiang Hao wasn't just making things up. It was indeed a possibility. The Saint Bandits belonged to the Heavenly Spirit Tribe, and the writings in the Sea Fog Cave were also in the Heavenly Spirit Tribe's language. The fact that members of the Heavenly Note sect appeared at the bottom of the sea could mean that they reached there from the Sea Fog Cave. Although it was all speculation, everything seemed to fit. However, what was strange was that if the Sea Fog Cave was the passage to the bottom of the sea, the Saint Bandits should have appeared from the Heavenly Note sect as well. But that wasn't the case. There was likely another passage somewhere else. Saint Bandits? The others were surprised. Dan Yuan seemed to be deep in thought. Indeed, there's a possibility. Lu, you can pay attention to that area and you can ask one question as a reward. All right. Lu nodded. If you find something more, Jing, you can also ask one question as a reward, Dan Yuan said with a smile. Jiang Hao nodded and thanked him. This unexpected gain meant that Dan Yuan's answer would be valuable. However, he didn't know what to ask for. Fortunately, he was not in a rush. He would need to find some clues before he could ask a question. Otherwise, asking a question without any clues would mean paying another price. Chapter 462. The ring was still on the Demoness wrist. That's possible, Jiang Hao said after thinking for a long time. Based on the information from the gathering, the Saint Bandits are likely to contact individuals who are willing to use any means to enhance their cultivation, especially those with low innate talent who practice unique techniques, like the Blood Wish Path. After gathering various pieces of information, Jiang Hao began to understand. The recent proliferation of the Blood Wish Path was likely the work of the Saint Bandits. However, there had been no reports of anyone having their talents stripped away. This seemed to go against the Saint Bandits' ideology. It was possible that they were biding their time and waiting for the right moment. Some of the geniuses within the sects were likely being targeted, and all it would take was one opportunity for the Saint Bandits to strike. But this would almost certainly result in their deaths, as the Heavenly Note sect would never allow such individuals to leave alive. Are you planning to go after them? Hong Yuya asked after swallowing a piece of fruit. Senior, you must be joking. As a mere Foundation Establishment realm cultivator, I won't be venturing into that kind of danger, Jiang Hao said. Going after the Saint Bandits was akin to seeking death, especially after witnessing the overwhelming strength of the Saint Bandits back when he was in the Bright Moon sect. Even if the Sea Fog Cave was inhabited by some unknown creatures, it was not a place he could approach. In the eyes of powerful cultivators, whether he was at the Foundation Establishment realm or the Primordial Spirit realm, it didn't make much of a difference. Foundation Establishment realm? Haven't you reached the Golden Core realm yet? Hong Yuya chuckled. Jiang Hao bowed his head and didn't reply. In fact, he should have advanced to the Golden Core realm by now, but he was waiting for junior brother Han to return. The chaos caused by the Blood Wish Path outside required his help. However, advancing at this time would put him in a precarious position. It would be best to quell the rumors before advancing. But he needed to think about how to do that. In a few days, do you plan to contact your undercover agent through the gathering? Hong Yuya asked. Yes, even though the other party may not be obedient, as long as he goes overseas and enters the core of the end of all things, that will be enough. When they find him there, he won't have a choice but to provide information, Jiang Hao said. The strength of Lu was enough to make Qi Tian understand how insignificant he was if he was unwilling to cooperate. Unless he decided to die, he would have to give some information. If it weren't for the fact that Lu didn't need anything at the moment, Jiang Hao would have asked Lu to send a message to Qi Tian. Senior, can Gui borrow the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl? Jiang Hao asked. This was something he needed to ask about. Borrowing something like this was dangerous and he had to ask. What if something went wrong? It would be hard to imagine the consequences. Her friend seems to be cultivating the Thousand Curses body. While being eroded by curses is a part of it, as long as it can be suppressed, the final step can be completed. The Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl can help her, but it's best to not suppress it. Instead, you should transfer it, Hong Yuya said while eating a peach. Transfer it. Jiang Hao was puzzled, especially regarding the Thousand Curses body. He had never heard of it before. Suppression is just making the body adapt, while transfer is a rebirth, Hong Yuya said. Jiang Hao lowered his head. He still couldn't fully understand it, but he made a mental note of it. If Gui could understand it, he would be able to avoid danger. He just hoped that Hong Yuya wouldn't be too profound. It should be fine. With Dan Yuan present at the gathering, he should be able to understand it. Senior Dan Yuan's knowledge and power are unquestionable. Even if others don't understand, he can. Having him around allows me to talk about things I don't understand myself, as someone will help explain them to me. After all, he has experience, Jiang Hao thought to himself. After that, Hong Yuya remained silent and quietly ate the peach. In the evening, Jiang Hao began to set up an array for the immortal peach tree. Hong Yuya sat nearby and watched the peach tree. Once everything was ready, Jiang Hao sat in his chair and looked at the peach tree. During this time he brewed a pot of tea. As Hong Yuya drank her tea, the red and white sleeves fell down. Jiang Hao noticed that his ring was still on her wrist. This made him a little concerned as he had been thinking about whether to speak up and ask for it back. However, in the end he decided against it. If she didn't return it willingly, it would only lead to trouble if he asked for it. Losing one ring wouldn't make much of a difference, and he could always ask for the one the spirit beast had. What kind of tea is this? Hong Yuya asked as he looked at him. It's Thousand Snow, Jiang Hao said and lowered his head. It was ancient spirit tea not too long ago and now it's Thousand Snow? Are you planning to switch to red sleeve fragrance next time? Hong Yuya said teasingly. Senior, you jest. It's just that it's been difficult to buy good tea lately, Jiang Hao said. The ancient spirit tea cost 500 spirit stones, the Thousand Snow cost around 200, and red sleeve fragrance cost 100. He didn't need to reduce his standards to this extent. However, it seemed that Hong Yuya wasn't interested in hearing this. A powerful aura surged like a tidal wave. At midnight, the immortal peach tree began to emit a faint light and spiritual energy was rapidly being absorbed. Veins appeared in the branches, and all the spiritual energy was converging toward the final fruit. It lasted for most of the night. Early the next morning, the entire tree turned into ashes and fell to the ground. The fruit had also been absorbed. A ray of sunlight shone from the sky and fell upon the red and white figure in the courtyard. She slowly approached the ashes and squatted down. She eventually found a seed in the ashes. After examining it for a moment, she stood up and handed the seed to Jiang Hao. Do you need to go through the incarnations 4 more times? She asked. Yes, for more times, Jiang Hao said as he took the seed. What happens after 4 times? Hong Yuya asked. It might take thousands of years for it to mature, Jiang Hao said. After 9 incarnations, it would turn into a divine tree. After that, it might not mature in just a year. Hong Yuya didn't speak further. She watered the heavenly fragrance Dao flower and disappeared. Next time, remember to prepare some new tea. Hong Yuya's voice reached Jiang Hao's ears. Finally, everything completely dissipated. Jiang Hao let out a sigh of relief and knew that he would have to buy tea again. He wondered what kind of tea costs 250 spirit stones for such a small portion. Thankfully, it wasn't consumed too quickly, and he couldn't finish too many pots in one night. The most important thing was that Hong Yuya only visited once every few months. After appraising the immortal peach tree seed, Jiang Hao planted it. In 4 days it would take root and sprout. In the spirit herb garden, Ching Chou greeted him as soon as he arrived. Senior brother Jiang, I found out some information. What is it? Jiang Hao asked. The commotion caused by the blood wish path was huge and I also heard your name mentioned, Ching Chou said in surprise. While I was on my way out, I saw someone being chased on the road, and their silhouette resembled yours a bit. I thought you had come out of the sect. Later I found out it was someone being chased for absorbing the blood vow. He called himself Jiang Hao from the Cliff of Broken Hearts. He had a mask on. His appearance is somewhat similar to yours. Jiang Hao frowned. It seemed that these people were really using him as a scapegoat. He knew someone was behind this. Especially since so many of them were practicing the blood vow Dao, there had to be something fishy going on. Senior brother Chen Chen had always kept his practice of the blood wish path hidden, so it was unlikely that it was him, unless he was using this as an opportunity to achieve his own goals. If that were the case, then Yin Wei might also be his associate. However, he had a feeling that there was another person involved who was adding fuel to the fire. He needed to find out who they were and put an end to it. Chapter 463, I suspect he's waiting for an opportunity to advance. Listening to Ching Chou, Jiang Hao felt that this matter was becoming more and more troublesome. Simple rumors wouldn't affect him, but so many imposters had appeared, and it wasn't just 1 or 2 of them. Senior sister Qin had seen it and now Ching Chou too. He was curious if it would end if someone was caught. Probably not, as they would need to catch the real culprits. Senior brother Jiang, the situation isn't looking good, Ching Chou said. Yes, I understand. Jiang Hao nodded and instructed Ching Chou to focus on his tasks and not worry too much about this matter. Ching Chou couldn't say much more about it. He knew that Jiang Hao's abilities and methods far exceeded his own understanding, so he just followed his orders. After taking care of the spirit herb garden for a while, Jiang Hao got up. He looked around the entire garden but didn't see anyone suspicious. In his opinion, this situation was likely orchestrated by someone, and they might still be watching the area. That person was the key to resolving the issue. Waiting for the other party to show up wasn't impossible, but it would be hard to control the situation. At night, within the disciples' quarters of the flowing waterfall, two men in their mid-20s with late Foundation establishment realms sat facing each other in the hall. They looked delighted as if they had finally found hope in their cultivation paths. "Who would have thought that the blood wish path could help us advance so quickly?" said the man with a scar at the corner of his eye. He sounded excited as if it was the first time he had advanced in his cultivation realm in a long time. "Yes. The blood wish path allows for such rapid progress, but I feel like more and more people are taking action now. Too many people are dying," said the frail-looking man in concern. "Don't worry. It's all thanks to the senior from the Cliff of Broken Hearts, anyway. He's a senior in the blood wish path. Don't be fooled by his late Foundation establishment realm cultivation. He might just be hiding his true strength. There's a good chance he's already in the Golden Core realm. We're advancing so quickly, so he shouldn't be slow either," the scarred man said. "What if he finds out we're impersonating him?" asked the frail man. "There are so many impersonators out there. Some willingly give us their names. So, if they're looking for someone, they'll probably go for others first. Besides, within the sect, he wouldn't dare to mess with us," the scarred man said. He understood the rules of the sect. If you played your cards right, it could be your protective umbrella. That's true. Once we reach the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm, we can exchange information on how to enter the Golden Core realm. After that, we just need to consult some seniors, the frail man said in agreement. Indeed, once we enter the Golden Core realm, we won't have to worry about anything anymore. Speaking of which, why do I feel like the sky is darker today than before? The frail man said. Is it? The scarred man was puzzled. Without thinking too much, they continued discussing their future plans. In a corner of the hall, a figure gradually appeared. It seemed like he had just arrived, but it also felt like he had been there all along. When the two men left, he walked out of the corner, exited the hall, and left the courtyard. Under the moonlight, his figure became clearer. It was Jiang Hao. He had been investigating the situation. The commotion caused by the blood wish path was becoming significant, and he couldn't ignore it anymore. While he wasn't concerned about simple rumors, the appearance of imposters raised serious issues. The person targeting him hadn't shown themselves yet, so he needed to find them and resolve the situation. He had been watching two individuals, Hualai and Bao Cheng. Cheng Cho had found out that they both cultivated the blood wish path willingly. So, he had come here to investigate. His original intention was to ask them in person, so he pulled them into the heavenly cauldron. But he found out that they were going to visit their seniors and decided not to show themselves. He appraised one of them. He confirmed that they were practicing the blood wish path. It was similar to what he had discovered about Pei Yuan. It appeared that they were also getting help from Yin Wei. Finding Yin Wei would likely yield valuable information. As for Qian Qin, he couldn't investigate that yet. The undercover agents hadn't sent him any information. He was only aware of 3 undercover agents who were also his acquaintances: Lu Xingqian, senior sister Ming Yi, and senior sister Hua Lu. Lu Xingqian was currently away and would take some time to return. Hua Lu rarely had contact with him, and senior sister Ming Yi should have been sending him information, but he didn't know what she was doing now. Jiang Hao returned to his house and began to study the 4th form of the heavenly blade. He had to completely comprehend it before Chu Chuan's return and make modifications to adapt it to the Foundation establishment realm. If he couldn't modify it, Chu Chuan wouldn't be able to learn it. Every time Baiji came to the 100 Flowers Lake, she felt scared. She couldn't even breathe freely. And in the entire sect, apart from her, no one else was qualified to approach this place. The sect master hadn't left here since emerging from seclusion. She no longer concerned herself with sect matters. She was investigating something else. It seemed that someone was targeting the Heavenly Note sect, and there was a certain possibility that they might be from the end of all things. The sect master's plans surpassed her expectations. Baiji took a deep breath and approached the pavilion. She saw the sect master sitting there like a peerless beauty. She looked detached from worldly affairs. She was afraid to stare at the sect master too closely. He bowed respectfully. "Sect master." After a short wait, Baiji heard her speak. "Speak," said the sect master. "Lately, it seems that various major sects want to use the blood wish path as a pretext to target us. There should be other motives behind it." Hong Yuya looked at the teacup on the table. "What motives?" "There's a good chance it's related to the mines. They brought back some items before, and although they weren't extraordinary treasures, they might be convinced that there are valuable treasures in the mine. However, considering the short time gap, they shouldn't have had a reason to act so soon. There might be other instigators, Baiji said. She didn't mention Jiang Hao being in the thick of it all because it wasn't a significant matter. As long as he remained in the sect, regardless of what those other sects wanted, the Heavenly Note sect wouldn't hand him over to them. Last time they nearly made a big mistake. Now that they understood Jiang Hao's value, those people wouldn't be able to take him unless they were willing to provoke the entire Heavenly Note sect. They probably hoped for a conflict to achieve their goals. Is there anything else? Hong Yuya asked. She seemed uninterested in these matters. Jiang Hao has returned from outside and so far, there's nothing particularly unusual about him. His cultivation realm is still at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm. According to my speculation, he might be waiting for a good opportunity to advance to make it seem less conspicuous, Baiji said carefully. This time he should have received guidance from someone behind the scenes. However, he hasn't advanced yet, which suggests that the timing isn't right. He is still on the suspect list, but there's been no evidence of any betrayal toward the sect. The person behind him is extremely cautious, and we haven't gained any information so far. Continue the investigation, Hong Yuya said calmly. What about the sea fog? Chapter 464. Who would impersonate their master? The poison fog in the Misty Fog Cave suddenly retreated, and there are unknown dangers inside. Our people have disappeared after entering that cave. However, there's one piece of information from overseas that is worth noting, said Baiji and paused. The original message stated that in a special place beneath the sea, there appeared the shadows of the Heavenly Note sect disciples. We suspect it's related to the Sea Fog Cave. We've sent people to investigate overseas and we've also started paying attention to the Sea Fog Cave. No one has entered it again for the time being. As for the news from the End of All Things organization, they seem to be searching for the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl and have made some progress. Although they were stopped by those overseas, it's already too late. They are planning to send people out for exploration soon. We haven't found Azure Mountain's contact yet, so it's going to take some time, said Baiji. Continue the investigation, Hong Yuya said. Baiji nodded in agreement. The Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment is a success. Seize this opportunity and you might make further progress, said Hong Yuya. Baiji was momentarily stunned, but she lowered her head and expressed her gratitude. Thank you, Sect Master. After you find out more, come back and find me. You may leave now, Hong Yuya said. Baiji left. Although she didn't understand the extent of the impact of the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment, if the Sect Master said there was hope, then there might be hope after all. However, the most urgent matter at hand was to manage all the affairs properly, both regarding the Sea Fog Cave and the surrounding sections. Half a month later, in early December, Jiang Hao was still working in the Spirit Herb Garden. Lately, things had been relatively calm within the sect, but there was significant commotion outside. It was rumored that many members of various sects were planning to hunt him down. Most of them were Foundation Establishment Realm and Golden Core Realm cultivators. Even some seniors from other sects seemed to be involved. They were challenging the Heavenly Note sect. Why would they mobilize such a force just to deal with someone in the peak of the Foundation Establishment Realm? That was Jiang Hao's first reaction. It was impossible to find him unless they knew there was a treasure on him. Otherwise, the cultivators from other sects weren't fools. While it was acceptable for Golden Core Realm and Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators to take action, it didn't make sense for seniors to get involved. These powerful cultivators had ulterior motives, and Jiang Hao felt that someone behind the scenes was orchestrating everything. The other sects were undoubtedly aware of this, but they would act if it aligned with their interests. They certainly wouldn't miss the opportunity, especially because many members of the Heavenly Note sect had gone to the Bright Moon sect, and they had recently clashed with Overseas Powers and the Heavenly Saint sect. In just 10 years, the Heavenly Note sect had clashed with Azure Mountain, the Heavenly Saint sect, the Overseas Powers, and the Devil's Denver. Then a group of people went to the Bright Moon sect. Currently, the Heavenly Note sect was short of time. In the evening, Jiang Hao left the Spirit Herb Garden and visited the task hall of the Law Enforcement Hall. Junior brother, you're here again? The senior at the counter sounded surprised to see him. Are there any missions available? Jiang Hao asked. In the end, he accepted a mission to find a fellow sect disciple, which would cost him 1,500 spirit stones if he failed. For him that was quite a lot. After the incarnation of the immortal peach tree, he had less than 1,000 spirit stones left. Before leaving, he used the Heaven Secret's hidden talisman to conceal himself. The effect would last for 3 days. After 3 days he had to return. This time he followed the 2 fellow disciples who were going to find Yin Wei. He wasn't sure about Yin Wei's strength, so he could only observe them. If Yin Wei was too powerful, he would retreat immediately and wait for the sect's response. This time he left a ring outside as a precaution. If there was not much commotion, he would retrieve the ring afterward to prevent it from being discovered by others. Let's go. We don't have much time left. I didn't expect the sect's mission to delay us, said Bao Cheng impatiently. We should have enough time. Just move quickly, said Huolai earnestly. The 2 of them departed from the sect's residence and flew on their swords. They headed away from the sect. However, neither of them noticed that a figure was following them all the way. They traveled for an entire night before finally arriving at a stronghold in the early hours of the morning. This stronghold had recently been established and was guarded by many people. The weakest of them was at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Before entering, Bao Cheng and Huolai put on their masks that could block prying eyes. Once they passed the guards, they headed straight for the central location. Jiang Hao sneaked in from the side and went unnoticed. There's a formation, but it's not strong. Although Jiang Hao didn't know much about the formations, he could sense their power. Inside he found several people. Each of them was wearing masks. Occasionally he could overhear their conversations. I went to a relatively remote city earlier. I went there to absorb all the fresh blood to help me advance to the Golden Core realm. Unfortunately, I encountered people from the Black Heaven sect on the way. I nearly got caught. Before leaving, I taunted them. I told them that they should go to the Heavenly Note sect to find me if they had the guts. I told them that I'm Jiang Hao and I won't change my name or hide my identity. They were furious. They said, I'll kill you one day, Jiang Hao. By the way, who is this Jiang Hao? Is he famous in the Heavenly Note sect? Said a middle-aged man as he laughed heartily. I killed an entire family in front of a child in the village. Then I told him that I was Jiang Hao from the Cliff of Broken Hearts. Now, whenever that child hears the name, he screams in terror. The 2 men laughed. However, they didn't notice that the heavenly cauldron enveloped them in a split second. Suddenly, a blade pierced through the young man's chest, and blood dripped from the tip of the blade. Immediately afterward, a cold voice followed. Is it still funny? The young man was shocked, and he released his inner power in an attempt to counterattack. But moonlight flashed in his eyes, and a long blade cut across his neck. In a state of terror, the young man felt his vision blurring. Is it no longer funny? Asked the cold voice. In his state of fear, the young man lost consciousness. He would never know who had killed him or how it had happened. On the other side, the middle-aged man looked back and saw someone holding a long blade in the night. The figure resembled a ruthless butcher. Fellow disciple. Suddenly, the aura of a golden core realm emanated, followed by the aura of a primordial spirit realm. Friend? Senior. Senior, I didn't know that you were here. Please forgive me, the middle-aged man said in fear. I'm willing to serve you as a slave. A slave? Said the cold, indifferent voice in amusement. Which slave would dare to impersonate their master so casually? Impersonate their master? The middle-aged man realized something at that moment and was filled with shock and terror. Moonlight appeared. The figure had already appeared behind the middle-aged man. In an instant he felt his consciousness fading. Finally he collapsed. Chapter 465. Sorry, I'm not someone who likes to be famous. Looking at the 2 corpses, Jiang Hao added 2 more strikes to make sure they were dead. After that, he took their storage treasures and masks. After trying one of the masks, he burned them. Once they were reduced to ashes, he dispersed the heavenly cauldron illusion. Observing the people coming and going, he realized that everyone here was pretending to be him, most likely at the instigation of someone inside. So poor. There were hardly any spirit stones in the storage treasures of the 2 people. Those who had fallen so low as to come here to learn the blood wish path were rarely highly talented individuals. Although they advanced quickly, they didn't have many years left to live. Those with sufficient talent wouldn't have ended up like this. This also meant that those who came to learn the blood wish path were usually ordinary members of their sects, and they indeed didn't have many spirit stones. Even with their cultivation improving now, they couldn't earn much in just a few months. Shaking his head, he headed toward the center. As he approached, he saw many people waiting in line. It seemed that only 1 or 2 people were allowed in at a time. Lai and Baocheng were also waiting. So Jiang Hao joined the line. However, unlike the others, he wasn't just waiting. Instead, he used the knowledge from the nameless manual to sense the cultivation realms of the people inside. It was a kind of perception that probed not the cultivation realms of others without attracting attraction. It was to avoid detection. At one point he sensed countless auras. These auras were intertwined and carried a sense of despair, misery, and sorrow. Soon he noticed an aura that didn't carry any of these emotions. It was coming from the central wooden hut. Through the blend of all the spiritual energy and aura heading there, Jiang Hao could sense that whoever was in that hut was in the Soul Ascension realm. Soul Ascension realm? Jiang Hao was surprised. Then he sighed. The people spreading the blood path wish aren't practitioners of the blood path themselves. It seems they're only using it to achieve their goals. In fact, he didn't need to care about such people. But these people insisted on involving him. All of them were struggling for survival in the cultivation world, so why make things difficult for each other? While waiting in line, he overheard some people discussing something. This time, I'm going upstream in the Eastern River, so you guys better not go there. I'm going downstream. Suddenly, someone behind Jiang Hao said, since you've chosen these directions, I'll go to Fallen City. Fallen City is a bit close. It's said to be a place of the Heavenly Note sect. Getting discovered there can be dangerous, someone said. What's there to be afraid of? Just take it one step at a time and they won't pay attention to you. If worst comes to worst, can't I use Jiang Hao's name again? Isn't he also from the Heavenly Note sect? This way they might have some in Idle, Anir FNR the RU Ren Ha Hin Tiana. Said. That's true. Speaking of that, this person's name is really useful. Everyone's using it. I wonder how he'd feel if he heard about it. Someone in front laughed. Why is it so useful? Jiang Hao asked curiously. He's famous and is in a demonic sect. He is probably a vain person. He'd love others to use his name. Otherwise, why hasn't he refuted any of the claims for so long? The person in front said. I see. Jiang Hao nodded. He understood one thing. Different actions brought out different consequences. At first, he thought that ignoring everything would calm things down, and gradually the rumors would fade away. But not paying attention to them could also lead to many people using those rumors boldly to their advantage. Rumors might not affect him, but the impersonation and doing things in his name would have a significant impact on him. Speaking in his name and doing things in his name would inevitably draw the attention of those in the cultivation world. What he couldn't understand was why they wanted to use his name. There must be someone pushing from behind. Is Fallen City the closest city around here? Jiang Hao suddenly asked. Yes, friend, are you also going there to look for Blood Vow? Don't go too far. Kill half at most. Try not to destroy the city. I'm doing it bit by bit. I also need them to reproduce, right? Otherwise, where would we get so much nourishment? The man behind him said. Jiang Hao remained silent. Fallen City? His family was over there. After a brief wait, there were fewer people in front of him. From them, Jiang Hao learned that tonight, everyone would stay and cultivate for a while and leave only tomorrow. Jiang Hao was relieved by this news. As long as they stayed, that was good. Next. Jiang Hao walked in. He could unleash his power at any moment. When he entered the room, he saw a man sitting on a wooden chair. He looked calm and was dressed in white. His hair was tied up with a bamboo stick. He looked like a scholar. Sir. Jiang Hao greeted him respectfully. He appraised the man. I advise you not to make a move, Jiang Hao said. Feng Jing was somewhat surprised, but then he smiled. Friend, are you here for the blood vow? I came for Yin Wei, but unfortunately you are not him, Jiang Hao said calmly. Haha. Feng Jing lifted a teacup and smiled. Friend, don't be upset. Look, Yin Wei is right there. Upon hearing this, Jiang Hao almost turned around to look. It was at this moment that Feng Jing made his move. With his early-stage Soul Ascension realm aura erupting, a long sword appeared in his hand as he leaped toward Jiang Hao. He aimed to kill with a single strike. However, he found that the person hadn't turned around. At some point, a silver-white long knife had appeared in his hand and struck against Feng Jing's attack. During this process, he even saw the opponent's aura becoming thicker. It overwhelmed everything. Feng Jing was shocked. The other party was attempting to ambush him. He had pretended to turn around, but in reality he was accumulating power for an attack. In the blink of an eye, the knife and sword clashed. Boom. A powerful force erupted. The blade shattered the sword and cut across Feng Jing's shoulder. Clang. The long sword broke and fell to the ground. Feng Jing's shoulder was injured. Blood gushed out. At this moment he took a step back. Friend, we can. Moonlight swept across. A single slash ended Feng Jing's life force. Then, the blade rose again and the second form of the heavenly blade, Mountain Suppression, was activated. Friend. Boom. With another slash, Feng Jing was dead. Seeing this, Jiang Hao stepped forward and added 2 more strikes to make sure he was dead. He then picked up his storage treasure. After that, he looked at the Foundation Establishment Realm Cultivator nearby. The person was cowering on the ground with a look of terror. Do you know Yin Wei? Jiang Hao asked. No, I don't. The person frantically shook their head. Do you know Jiang Hao? Oh, I don't know him either. You have seen me now, so you know me? Sorry, I'm not someone who likes to be famous. The person looked at the figure in front of them in despair. Chapter 466, Smiling Sansheng. In the hall, Jiang Hao lowered his head and thought about the next steps. Once he resolved matters here, the commotion would likely calm down to some extent. The reason he hadn't been deceived by Feng Jing earlier was that he had secretly activated the heavenly cauldron. Under its illusion, how could Yin Wei have appeared? So, when he sensed the opponent's sneak attack, he outwitted him. Fortunately, nothing unexpected happened. During the confrontation, he also activated the Immortal Mountain Sea Shield to increase his strength. The opponent was quite skilled and managed to avoid a direct hit. However, regarding Yin Wei, he needed to inquire with others to see if he could gather some more information. Feng Jing was too powerful. If he started playing tricks, Jiang Hao might not be able to firmly suppress him. Down the mountain, a group of people was rapidly approaching. The leader was a late Gold Core Realm man. He looked composed, but he felt slightly uneasy. After a while, they stopped in a hidden area and some people followed suit. What's wrong, senior brother? Ren Shuang asked. They were disciples of the Black Heaven sect and were sent on a mission to investigate the commotion regarding the Blood Wish path. The people practicing it were acting recklessly and cruelly. The sect couldn't afford to stand by, even though the distance was quite far. This mountain is close to the Heavenly Note sect. Although it's not that near, it's still within their range. We should be cautious, Sidu Jian said. Senior brother, do you think that the one behind this attack might really be Jiang Hao? Or did he order someone to do this? Ren Shuang asked curiously. By now, she had recovered to the middle stage of the Gold Core realm. Soon she would advance to the late stage. Whenever Jiang Hao was mentioned, she instinctively touched her neck. She still remembered what happened back then when he slashed at her neck. His gaze had been cold and calculative, as if he could kill her at any moment. Even though her cultivation had caught up with those from that time, that feeling of trepidation had never left her. It's not him. He's not the kind of person who gets involved in such matters. Clearly, someone wants to push him into the spotlight, Sidu Jian said. If the immortal sects target him, would the demonic sect send someone too? Ren Shuang asked. No, Sidu Jian said firmly. Last time they didn't send anyone, and they're even less likely to do so this time. If such a person appears, we either make friends with them or avoid them. Junior sister, you must think it over carefully. Don't act impulsively. If you're on my team, it's best to remain silent. If you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, don't blame me for the consequences. Ren Shuang lowered her head and didn't respond. After waiting for a while, Situ Jian and the others continued forward. A short while later, the outline of a mountain village came into view. It seems the information was correct. There really is a gathering of Blood Wish Path practitioners here, Sidu Jian said. He sent someone to contact the seniors in the vicinity. There was definitely an expert behind the proliferation of the Blood Wish Path. Although he was in the late Gold Core realm, the Blood Wish Path had lots of Gold Core realm cultivators and even powerful backers. There might even be Primordial Spirit realm cultivators among them. In any case, it was safer to call a Soul Ascension realm senior for backup. After notifying the others, they waited. However, the village was unusually quiet. Situ Jian tried to project his senses and found that there seemed to be no signs of life inside. So unusual. Let's go around the side and take a look, he said. After a while they arrived at a guarded area. Surprisingly, the guards seemed to be looking inside. Something must have happened inside the stronghold. Moments later, cries of alarm rang out, and the two guards fled on their flying swords. Wait. If no one chases us, we'll intercept them. Situ Jian didn't hesitate to make a decision. Soon they captured the two guards. What did you see? Situ Jian asked. They're dead. All of them. One of the guards said. He was trembling in fear. They're all dead. Situ Jian was surprised. Yes, the guard said. You two come with me. The rest of you, stay here and wait for reinforcements, said Situ Jian to his group. Finally he took Ren Shuang and a junior in the early stage of the Golden Core realm and headed in. At first they were cautious, but after entering the main gate, they were shocked by the scene before them. There were many people here, but all of them were lying on the ground. Their bodies were broken and their vitality extinguished. The methods used were extremely cruel. Separate and investigate carefully, Situ Jian instructed. Ren Shuang and the others didn't hesitate and began to examine the area. After some time, the junior in the early stage of the Golden Core realm returned. Junior brother, what did you find? Situ Jian asked. All their storage treasures are gone, and there are no survivors. Furthermore, everyone here is a blood wish path cultivator. They range from Foundation Establishment realm to the Golden Core realm, the junior said. Situ Jian wasn't surprised. He had seen it as well. Moreover, after circling the area, he found that there was no sign of struggle. This indicated that the killer was stronger than all the people here. Senior brother, come over here and look. Ren Shuang shouted. Situ Jian didn't hesitate and hurried over to her. It was a square with massive wooden pillars erected. Ren Shuang was in front of one of the pillars. What's wrong? Situ Jian asked. There were bodies here, but nothing seemed unusual. There. Ren Shuang pointed at the wooden pillar. The two of them looked over and saw a carved smiley face on it. It was a grotesque, malevolent smile. Situ Jian was taken aback. He had seen a similar smiley face in a book before. Smiling Sansheng. The Black Heaven sect knew about this person because his magic treasure was still in their possession. Is he telling us that he's here and can come to our sect at any time to take back what belongs to him? Ren Shuang asked. Situ Jian couldn't say for sure. It wasn't something he could consider. He would leave it to the seniors to decide. Let's figure out what happened here first and then wait for the seniors to arrive. The Blood Wish Path practitioners should quiet down for a while after this. Most of them are here. This was their mission. Although they didn't know what had happened exactly, their mission was accomplished. Any other unexpected discoveries would be left to the sect to figure out. At this moment, from a hidden spot in the sky, Jiang Hao watched Situ Jian and the others. It seems like I've seen them somewhere before. After some thought, he finally remembered. Situ Jian. A disciple of the Black Heaven sect whom he had met at the mines. He was indeed quite skilled. Now he had reached the late stage of the Gold Core realm. Then he turned and left. In fact, he wanted to stay for a while to see if someone was pretending to be dead or if any of the Saint Bandits were aware of the situation here. He hadn't expected that he would find the disciples of the Black Heaven sect, who had arrived just in time to clean up. Jiang Hao disappeared from the spot. He returned to his residence in the Heavenly Note sect. He went inside and sat down. This time he had retrieved quite a few storage treasures. It was a good opportunity to see how many spirit stones he had collected. He took out the nearly shattered storage treasure which belonged to Feng Jing. As a Soul Ascension Realm cultivator, he shouldn't be too poor. However, if he were the same as Jiang Hao, he might have only a few hundred spirit stones. Fortunately, Feng Jing was different from him. After a quick check, Jiang Hao found 9,679 spirit stones. Considering his cultivation realm, this was still somewhat lacking. But luckily there were other things inside. Chapter 467. The world is unpredictable, yet he heads toward danger. This time his trip had yielded quite a bit. There were many masks, but the quality varied. Some were just ordinary masks. Not everyone could afford to spend thousands on a good mask. But these masks weren't easy to sell, so they had to be put aside for now. They could be sold later when the opportunity arose. There weren't many things in Feng Jing's storage treasure, but at least they were easy to identify. First, there was a pill that was crimson. It contained a significant amount of blood energy. It seemed to be meant for primordial spirit realm cultivators. Feng Jing was in the soul ascension realm, so he could indeed use it. However, the specific properties of the pill needed to be appraised. The knowledge regarding pills was vast, and he didn't have time to study it right now. His cultivation had just been raised, and it would take a lot of time to increase his knowledge. This was an inevitable part of his journey. The world of cultivation had accumulated knowledge for countless years, and there was a wealth of information on various subjects. A small cultivator like him couldn't comprehend it all. In addition to the pill, there was also information on the blood wish path techniques, which were more comprehensive than what Pei Yuan had. There were also some spirit herbs. He also found a treasure called the Heavenly Halberd, which was of high quality and was suitable for the primordial spirit realm. It was quite expensive. Apart from these, there were various miscellaneous items. There were some ordinary pills and other pretty useful items. It was difficult to estimate the value of the pills, but there were definitely several thousand spirit stones worth in that storage treasure. The Heavenly Halberd was the same. Jiang Hao had made a profit of over 20,000 spirit stones. Not bad. After collecting the items, Jiang Hao began inspecting the storage treasures of the other people. At this point, he realized just how difficult it was for ordinary cultivators to survive. 20 spirit stones, 30 spirit stones, 15 spirit stones, 60 spirit stones, 95 spirit stones. Aside from these, everything else was ordinary treasures and pills. There wasn't a single useful item in their storage treasure. In contrast, he had the primordial heavenly blade and the immortal mountain and sea shield. He wore the 9 heavens battle armor and also had the 9 golden rings. He practiced the Hong Meng Heart Sutra, wielded the 7 forms of the heavenly blade, and possessed a nameless manual that helped him immensely. He was much luckier than them, so he had to be extra careful and understand the consequences of his actions. Jiang Hao obtained 3,645 spirit stones from the storage treasures. When combined with what he already had and the ones he got from Feng Jing, it totaled up to 14,026. Quite unexpected. Jiang Hao couldn't help but feel moved. His original intention was to resolve the problem, not to earn spirit stones. Besides spirit stones, the most valuable things they had were probably the masks. Unfortunately, they weren't easy to sell. Ordinary items could be sold within the sect. As for the Heavenly Halberd and that pill, he would have to wait for the right opportunity. The masks were the same. There were too many of them and they could easily be recognized. As for the Heavenly Halberd, there was nothing to worry about. Being a primordial spirit realm treasure, the price range wasn't too wide. As for the pills, he would have to appraise them later. But there was no rush. After collecting all the items, Jiang Hao destroyed some of the useless ones to save space. It was still daytime, and he planned to visit the spirit herb garden and take care of some matters. He wanted to continue collecting bubbles. On the way, he glanced at his interface. Cultivating in secret beside a Demoness. There was still a long way to go for the lifeblood and cultivation. But he was only one divine ability fragment away, which was worth celebrating. One was provided by the sweet leaf cold grass, and the other was provided by the incarnation of the immortal peach tree. If everything went smoothly, he would be able to acquire another divine ability during the next incarnation. The next day, Jiang Hao appraised the pill. Mostly effective for those at the primordial spirit realm or below. Jiang Hao understood the pill's properties after reading the feedback. This pill was similar to the blood-burning secret technique he had learned before and the 4th form of the heavenly blade. They were all desperate techniques with consequences. Unfortunately, it's not very useful for me. With its function clarified, Jiang Hao decided to sell it when the opportunity arose. At noon, Qingqiu brought some news. He said that the Black Heaven sect had killed a group of blood wish path cultivators. They said the strongest was at the soul ascension realm, and the weakest was at the foundation establishment realm. After this news came out, there didn't seem to be any more blood wish path cultivators in the vicinity. Most people believe that only you are left, Qingqiu said. Jiang Hao nodded. As long as there were no imposters pretending to be him, everything was fine. By the way, there's another news. It said that a person named Smiling Sansheng has appeared. Qingqiu frowned. They say this person is capricious, behaves strangely, and doesn't care about either the immortal or demonic sections. Jiang Hao tended to the spirit herbs and remained silent. Smiling Sansheng was an alias he had used. They needed to have a target, so he gave them one. Just happened to match up. I heard that the Black Heaven sect's people are on guard. It seems that the mysterious person is most likely targeting their sect this time, Ching Cho said. Jiang Hao was surprised as he hadn't considered that. But it didn't matter. It wouldn't bring any trouble to him personally. In the eastern part of Heavenly Victory Prefecture, Bai Zhu sat cross-legged in her room. A faint black mist enveloped her body and distorted the surroundings. Soon, the black mist dissipated and was concealed by a powerful force. It's difficult to suppress it. Although some treasures can temporarily suppress it, they are not enough to achieve the best results. She hesitated. Do I really have to go to the Heavenly Note sect? It's just too dangerous. While that method might be very effective, the level of danger was incredibly high. A slight mistake could lead to her demise. Even the slightest leak of the aura would be enough to get her killed. After hesitating for a moment, she looked at the black mist in her hands again. In the end, she made up her mind. She would go and take a look, and then make a decision. She needed to return there. Something is strange. Jing was previously in the Heavenly Note sect, so why didn't he receive any news about the Heavenly Fragrance Dao flower? Was it not discovered, or is there some other reason? While the Heavenly Fragrance Dao flower was not easy to find with Jing's strength, there was no way he couldn't have found it if he wanted to. Bai Zhu shook her head and brushed aside the thought. Instead, she began to pack her things and prepared to leave the eastern region. Previously, she had to leave the southern region because of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. She never expected that she would now be rushing back to the south for the same reason. Chapter 468. The Heavenly Note sect is under attack. In the eastern region, near the sea, Qi Tian followed behind a man. The man looked to be in his 30s and his aura was not weak. Junior brother, you already have your revenge. Do you still want to join the end of all things? Asked the man as he turned around. It's not enough, Qi Tian said. All right then, otherwise it would be difficult to enter the end of all things, even with me leading the way, the man said. Qi Tian nodded. He understood. This time he truly wanted to become stronger and then return to the Blood Shadow sect. As for the person who had asked him to gather information, he was somewhat wary. That person might have no way to contact him overseas. He didn't need to send a message, so it was like going off the grid. He didn't need to worry too much. Even if that person came here one day, he would have to find him first. After hesitating for a moment, he suddenly said, Senior brother, I want to change my identity. At least change my name. No problem, said the man. I didn't inform you earlier, but I'll tell you now. The man looked at Qi Tian. On the way you can think about your last wishes. If you die midway through the mission and your strength allows, there is a chance that your teammates may help fulfill your last wishes. At the very least, they'll help you die in peace. Qi Tian was surprised, but he remained silent. At the Heavenly Note sect, Jiang Hao waited for several days. Finally he heard the good news. The matter with the Blood Wish path seemed to be settling down. Even if someone occasionally appeared from somewhere, the immortal sects swiftly dealt with them. However, these were not people from the Heavenly Note sect, so it didn't create conflict between the sections. But the previous conflicts were still there and ready to be ignited at any moment. After all, Jiang Hao's name still carried weight. And that was enough for him. No one impersonated him and his reputation stood as it was. As for whether the other sects would use him as an excuse to target the Heavenly Note sect, it depended on what the other sects thought. Yin Wei might appear some other time. Until then, Jiang Hao hoped for some peace. However, the sect issued an order to be on high alert. It seemed like they were going to engage in a conflict with someone. This surprised Jiang Hao. He was tending to the spirit herbs in the spirit herb garden. Even the others appeared a little fearful. They knew that they would have to continuously process the herbs and provide them to the sect. In the afternoon, Miao Tinglian came to the spirit herb garden. Junior brother Jiang, prepare to many orders OT spirit herbs. I heard that Azure Mountain is fighting back, and many other immortal sects are in support of them this time. Using the Blood Wish path as an excuse, they might start a war in a few days. This time the enemy was primarily Azure Mountain, and they may reach the sect soon. The situation is not good, Miao Tinglian said. The sect is still recuperating from the last fight, and our master has also gone out. Are we weak right now? Jiang Hao asked. Yes. It's just that I didn't expect them to act right now. Before, they struck without warning, and now the Blood Wish path has stirred up so much trouble. They are using it as an excuse to attack. I think even without the matter with the Blood Wish path, they would have still attacked, especially with Azure Mountain taking the lead. They have to bear the brunt of this attack. The other immortal sects will reap the benefits. I wonder if Azure Mountain has gone crazy since they chose to attack the Heavenly Note sect when they are so weak right now. Jiang Hao was also surprised. It seemed that Azure Mountain was eager to defeat the Heavenly Note sect. But wouldn't this put them at a disadvantage? Did they think that the Heavenly Note sect would just decline to fight, and their sect would rise as a result? Did other sects give them such confidence? Other sects were involved earlier, but only on a small scale. Now it's likely to be a full-blown fight, Jiang Hao said. Miao Tinglian left after that. She seemed very busy. After she left, Bai Yi arrived. He looked calm as he explained that the sect might soon go to war. Then he said, I heard some things about you, junior brother, and I know about your attention to detail while solving problems arising here in the garden. So, I'll leave the maintenance of the Spirit Herb Garden to you. I'll have some others stay on guard as well. If you face any problems, you can directly notify me or have those juniors convey the message to me. Understood. Jiang Hao nodded. It was his duty and he would do his best. It didn't need to be perfect so long he didn't make any major mistakes. 7 days later the war broke out. The sound of bombardment and blasts echoed continuously in front of the sect. Jiang Hao glanced in the direction of the sound and was shocked. This was the clash between the power of formations and the attacks of strong individuals. Even now he could only keep a safe distance. Of the 12 branches of Heavenly Note sect, most of them participated in the battle, except for the 3 branches whose masters were not present. Up to now, the teams primarily led by Azure Mountain did not have an advantage. After all, the terrain favored Heavenly Note sect, so causing substantial damage to the other side was not easy. Except for occasional visits, Jiang Hao spent most of his time in the Spirit Herb Garden. He feared that something might go wrong. He also had to consider how to escape if Heavenly Note sect were to lose. As long as he didn't take the Heavenly Fragrance Dao flower with him, it wouldn't be too difficult to escape. If he took it with him, he might attract everyone's attention. Although this conflict was started by the Blood Wish path, they had never mentioned him during it. It seemed that one lesson was enough and no one wanted to implicate him. At night, when Jiang Hao returned to his residence, he had a feeling that someone was watching him. But he couldn't quite pinpoint the direction. When he reached the courtyard, the feeling disappeared. Is it a spy or Elder Baiji's people? Someone would obviously come knocking on his door because of the flower. It was normal to have someone keeping an eye on the Heavenly Fragrance Dao flower. But he still had to be careful as he could only perceive some things. The other person's strength might turn out to be higher than the Soul Ascension realm. I don't know what's happening outside right now. Jiang Hao stood on the balcony and looked out. He couldn't see much. But there were some rumbling sounds and beams of power flashing at the outskirts of the sect. It went on incessantly. If the Heavenly Note sect was defeated, the entire sect would undergo a purge. At that time he would have to escape with the things in the courtyard. If there was a teleportation array outside, it would be much more convenient. Unfortunately, he couldn't find a safe place to put it for now. So far, he could only use the 1,000 miles teleportation talisman to leave. He had already demarcated the soil in the courtyard and sealed the spirit herbs within the universe in a palm ability. Once the Heavenly Note sect's large defensive array broke, he would activate the 1,000 miles teleportation talisman and flee. That wouldn't work without taking the Heavenly Fragrance Dao flower with him because Hong Yuya would be watching him. Moreover, if he was found by the members of the Heavenly Note sect, it would be better to escape soon with the divine item to be safe. A few more days passed and it was already late December. The casualties in Heavenly Note sect were increasing, and the losses were not small. Jiang Hao felt that it wouldn't take even a month for the large array to be broken. The situation in the Spirit Herb Garden was getting worse, and many ordinary people in other Spirit Herb Gardens had already collapsed from exhaustion. According to Senior Sister Miao Tinglian, the greatest pressure fell on the mines. It was almost about to be breached. Once breached, the fate of the mines was unknown. But one thing was certain. The treasure there would be looted. Jiang Hao felt helpless. He knew that if the mines were breached, someone would definitely come to the Cliff of Broken Hearts. Many immortal sects knew about the Heavenly Fragrance Dao flower. The treasure of the mine was still unknown, but the Heavenly Fragrance Dao flower was real. Chapter 469, The Heavenly Note Sect Falls. At the 100 Flowers Lake, there were faint ripples on the surface of the lake. They were caused by raindrops falling. It was drizzling. Baiji stood in front of the pavilion. Sect Master. At this moment, Hong Yuye, who was in the pavilion, was sipping tea and staring in the direction of the lake. She was lost in thought. After a short while, she put down her teacup and asked, "Is the sect under attack?" "Yes." Baiji nodded. "They used the Blood Wish path as an excuse. So far, Azure Mountain has mobilized its entire sect. The Black Heaven sect, the Sunset Immortal sect, the Wind Lightning sect, and other immortal sects are also participating in this war. The number far exceeds that of the previous Azure Mountains Dao conference. It seems that their goal is to win this time." "What's your plan?" Hong Yuya poured herself some tea. It seemed like a casual question. Baiji had prepared herself for this and carefully chose her words. "Azure Mountain's actions this time are a bit unusual. After investigating it, I found that someone had incited them. They resolved disputes and placed Azure Mountain at the forefront. According to his words, as long as the Heavenly Note sect falls, they can absorb resources and recover to their peak, or even surpass it." "And then?" Hong Yuye took a sip of her tea. "I suspect this person has ulterior motives because he has no reason to go to such lengths. Either he is being compelled by someone or he has ulterior motives. Azure Mountain is related to someone in the overseas regions. Although we have some clues, we have not been able to catch the mastermind. This person is very likely the one we are looking for. Therefore, in the subsequent battle, our main goal is to capture him," Baiji said. "What about the other sects?" Hong Yuye looked at her. "Our sect is in a weakened state, so it is obviously not the best choice to confront all the immortal sections. Their main goal is the mine, so we'll let them go at it. It's also an opportunity for us to explore that place. If we don't suffer a little, or if they don't gain something, it will be difficult to quell this situation. Therefore, I believe that as long as we achieve our goal, some necessary losses can be accepted. This way we can also buy time to recover and avoid such incidents in the future," Baiji said. Hong Yuye quietly sipped her tea. Baiji was worried. She didn't know if the sect master was satisfied with her plan. But in her opinion it was the best strategy. There was actually another option, which was to ask the sect master to take action, but that would lead to hostility from other sections. Things could easily get out of hand, and she naturally wanted to avoid such a situation. She dared not offer any opinion on whether the sect master should or shouldn't intervene. The teacup made a noise as it was placed on the table. Baiji lowered her head. "The management of the sect can be continued according to your own ideas," Hong Yuye said. Baiji breathed a sigh of relief. The situations of the sect could indeed be handled according to her own ideas. If the sect master didn't agree, she would take action that very day. Back then, Jianghao had been like that, and it was only then that she realized that she might have been wrong from the beginning. Now she understood even more why the sect master valued Jianghao. This time it didn't involve anyone else, so she didn't need to worry too much. The most troublesome thing was actually the mines. It was hard to determine what would happen there. But these costs had to be paid. If the mine was temporarily lost, other important places would be left alone. Many people knew about the existence of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. If these people targeted the flower, it would be troublesome. Every time Jianghao returned home, he could feel the hidden gaze. As soon as he entered the courtyard, the gaze would disappear. He tried several times to find the location of the spy, but he couldn't find any traces. He didn't know if their cultivation realm was too high or if they had a special treasure. It's possible that their cultivation realm is high. They might not have concealed their gaze because they were certain I might not detect it. If that's the case, someone is secretly trying to protect the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Now, with many sects besieging the Heavenly Note sect, continuing the battle would undoubtedly lead to the Heavenly Note sect's defeat. Moreover, during the attack, someone might sneak into the sect. Once they came for the heavenly fragrance Dao flower, the divine item would be in danger. Therefore, it was natural for someone to try to protect it secretly. Not long after returning to his residence, Jianghao headed to the spirit herb garden. Now, that place needed to be closely watched. The other spirit herb gardens were not as secure as his, so those who needed spirit herbs would prefer to come here. However, they didn't have all kinds of spirit herbs. When Jianghao left, two shadows breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, A man who had been watching the surroundings of the house said, "What are we watching this place for?" "I don't know. Senior Sister Insha was in charge of this job, but she disappeared recently. So we have to take her place," said the woman whose eyes were closed. Jiang Hao. I've never heard of this name before. He might not even know that there are two people secretly guarding his house. The man smiled. He is in the Foundation establishment realm. I heard that he cultivates very fast and relies on opportunities to advance. But some people say it's because of the blood wish path, said the woman with her eyes closed. The blood wish path? The man was quite surprised. Yes, I inquired about it. He treats ordinary non-cultivators very well, and his actions are not like those of someone from a demonic sect. He wins people's hearts and makes many people willingly offer themselves to him. The possibility of the blood wish path is not low, said the woman. I looked down on the blood wish path. After hearing what you just said, I find that this junior brother is a bit unpleasant, said the man with a smile. His actions have nothing to do with us. Whatever path he chooses is his decision, said the woman with her eyes still closed. And try not to stare at him too much. What if he notices? It's unlikely, right? Even if he is in the Foundation establishment realm and is sensitive, he can't possibly notice us, said the man. It's better to be careful. After all, we're on a mission, said the woman. Okay, there's really nothing worth paying attention to. Before I knew about the blood wish path, I was a little curious. Now that you've mentioned his possible connection to the blood wish path, I don't want to pay attention anymore. It's not that interesting, said the man disdainfully. A few days later, Jiang Hao saw several branch masters taking action. He even saw Elder Baiji, which meant the current situation wasn't very optimistic. He also heard that the mines were about to fall, and they might start withdrawing from the mines. All these changes seemed to indicate that the Heavenly Note sect couldn't hold on for much longer. In the past few days he hadn't sensed that gaze again. He didn't know if the people had left or stopped spying on him. Anyway, he needed to be prepared. If someone broke in, he would have to leave. With his cultivation realm, he couldn't do much. He might not even be able to protect himself, much less fight seniors. The timing had to be right too. He needed to escape after the hidden people were defeated. Otherwise, he might easily be held responsible for deserting. I wonder if the sect master will take action. Jiang Hao was curious. The sect master should have even greater strength, and if they intervened, they might have a chance to resolve this crisis. But how could a normal person stay in seclusion for so long? Perhaps the current sect master was already at the end of their strength. If they took action, it might be easy for other sects to see their true nature and make it even more dangerous for them. Boom. A loud noise came from the direction of the mines. Even though he didn't see it, Jiang Hao knew that it had been breached. For a moment, he tensed up. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.